Hey guys, welcome back to Chatting With. Hope you're all doing well. This week my guest is a fellow retro gamer, collector and YouTuber. Been around for a long time. Everybody in the UK community will know who this is. He's a pillar of the community. Good friend of mine and yours, CojonesDeloro. How you doing, Daz?
Hello, how's everybody doing? I've not said that in a long time, Pete.
It's been a while.
It seems like years since I said hello. How are you all doing?
How long's it been now since you've been off?
It's been. I don't want to go too deep into this because it's kind of personal and private. But yeah, it's been a real rough couple of months for me. Maybe 3 or 4 months. We decided to do a lot of work in the house, which we got on with, and we did, which filled the house with dust and crap, and just you couldn't do anything. We could hardly cook a meal in the house because it was so upside down and inside out. Finally got to the end of that, and I got this room looking like I wanted it to. So it was a completely blank canvas. All the walls were plastered, ceilings, like new floors, new furniture, the full shebang, everything. And that took a while. And then just as we were getting to the end of the project, my wife came down very poorly and went into hospital.
Oh.
And yeah, we've not been apart since we met, really. So yeah, for like 28 years. And then suddenly I had to call paramedics one morning and she got taken away. And I was like, what do I do now? I was like on my own for like 9 days. She was in hospital. And because of the COVID, I couldn't visit her. So yeah, absence makes the heart grow fonder, and it certainly did. She wasn't annoying me anymore.
Is she doing okay now though?
She's fine now. Yeah, she's on the mend. It could have been life threatening. It wasn't the nicest of things. She was in a lot of pain. She was on morphine for 7 days. So but yeah, she's all good now, and starting to order me about and boss me around.
Back to normal.
So I knew when she was getting better when you know, the orders started coming. So yeah, so within weeks and weeks of that, it's been. Yeah, it's just been real turmoil, really, but everything's settling now. As you can see, I've got a little setup, got a little shmup setup back on the go, and yeah, we're settling back into normal, whatever that might be at the minute.
Well, yeah, at the moment, who knows? I mean, you're up north, aren't you? So are you still under lockdown restrictions at the moment?
It's grim up here, mate. It's grim up north. Yeah. No, you lock down south. You wash your feet in champagne down there, and
I wish, yeah.
You know, it's. A pound down there was a lot further than up here. But no, we apparently Sheffield, which is the sort of my local biggest city, which is about 7 miles that direction, had the highest infection rate in South Yorkshire last week. So yeah, it's getting there. You know, it's getting there. Rotherham, which is my closest town, is dead on its arse anyway, and has been for a lot of years. But we're not going to that subject. But yeah, we're doing okay. You know, I'm doing everything I can. I wear masks. I sanitize all the time. I'm, you know, just living normally, really, because my wife, before she got ill, because she's off still now, but she works for the NHS. And the company I work for, we make a lot of military and medical products. So we've never been trapped. I've been going to work every day all this time. You're welcome.
So what is the situation right now? Because I know up north, quite a lot of it, the restrictions are quite heavy.
No, there's nothing here at the minute. There's no local restriction here at the minute.
Oh,
we can infect each other at will. I think there's a plot actually to get rid of all the northerners. So you know, we pushed it away from London, didn't we? Pushed it up north from London, and then we've just sort of let it sit there, and it'll be all right.
Well, if you listen to all the northern politicians this morning, yeah, they're trying to divide us again, aren't they? So
I don't know. No bullshit. I mean, it is what it is, Pete. You know what I mean? It's coming through the country. I dare say it'll be heading back down south again once we've mutated it. You know, maybe a bit of a stronger virus will push it back to you. But now at the minute, you know, you just got to do the right thing, you know what I mean? Do the right thing. Try and look after each other where you can. Reduce your exposure, and that's it, really. You know, I'm fine. I'll just stay in the house. Me, I ain't got a problem with staying in. That's the thing with me. I can't wait to retire. I literally can't wait to retire. I've got so much to do, so much that I can do. Yeah, I'm a bit of a home bird, me. I like being at home.
Yeah, I think that goes for a lot of us, isn't it, really? Because being retro gamers, and you know, we have other hobbies as well, like films, music. You like your motorbikes as well, so we've always got things to keep us
Yeah, I've got a few
occupied.
of those in the garage on the go at the minute as well. So,
Yeah,
you know, my hobby is hobbies. I've always said that.
exactly.
Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning, Daz. How did you first become a gamer? What got you interested?
So, right at the beginning, and I was only
I know,
discussing
yeah.
that this week with a chap at work, and we get very nostalgic. It tends to be on a Friday afternoon in the office. We start playing like 70s adverts on YouTube and, you know, or singing along to Kit Kat adverts and just, you know, remember public information films, Pete?
Vaguely, I've seen them. I think I'm a bit younger than you, don't I? So,
Vaguely.
yeah. Well, you had the nuclear war one.
Look at us. Look at Pete and look at me. You know, I'm doing well. Turned 50 this year, Pete.
That's good. Yeah, 7 years difference.
Don't look it. You can say it. I'll not be embarrassed.
No, you do. You look good for 50. But,
Yeah, my mind's still 18. My body is 50.
yeah, I get that.
My mind doesn't seem to be aging. I've not bought a cardigan yet. You know, for God's sake, I'm wearing a Deadpool T-shirt. You know what I mean?
There you go.
I'm 50 years old. I am that guy that, you know, kids laugh at because he's trying too hard. But I'm not trying at all. I'm just, you know, just me. So right at the beginning, it was like handheld LCDs. So in the late 70s, you know, the very first. I don't think I've ever mentioned this before, Pete, as well. So this is the first here on your channel. Is I had and I've got real vivid memories of this. I'm trying to find it, and if anyone knows what this is called, please tell me. I've got cash. I want to buy one. It was a little black. I'm not sure whether I held it sort of in a horizontal or a vertical sort of thing. It wasn't even an LCD. It was like little red lights. The screen was kind of, yeah, the screen was like a vertical. It was like a Tarte setup, and it had little red. It was an invader game, so there was like little red lights that were obviously the invaders coming down the screen, and your ship was red, and you were firing up at them. You know, so it was like an invader game. I really don't know what it was called, but I'm pretty certain it was a hand-me-down from my brother. And yeah, I played that. I just remember having it. I can't remember what it was called. I mean, it was that old and battered. It was probably all the stickers had come off it or what. But I've not seen it. I've put in like LCD games and, you know, stuff like that into eBay and tried to find it. But I've never found it. I don't know what it is. If anyone can tell me what that is, then leave a link or get in touch or whatever in the comments and tell me what you think that might be. But yeah, definitely like a left and right shoe. That's all you had. And it was a black handheld, but the screen, it wasn't, this is before LCD. I'm going back here, Pete. You know, I think Moses had one of these. It was just lights. And then obviously the progression from that, and the only toy or piece of gaming tech that I still own that I had from back in the day, it's the only thing that survived, was my Grandstand Scramble. I've still got that. Yeah, I've still got my Grandstand Scramble, but I had the from there, it was kind of birthdays, you know, and Christmases was something else. I know later on for the 8-bit stuff I started getting things for Christmas, but it was mainly for birthdays. I have vivid memories of getting handhelds or LCD handhelds for birthdays. So I had the Cement Factory Game & Watch, the Nintendo double screen Cement Factory with Mario. I can remember a racing game I had that again looked a lot like the Invader 1000. So that's like almost like a tapered body to it with the control set at the bottom, but it was a racing game. It was a car racing game. That was definitely LCD. Well, one of the, I think the throttle thing broke off, the throttle lever broke off, and that just got thrown away. I think I wish I'd got that now. Probably I'll fix it. But yeah, so things like that, you know what I mean, like the LCD stuff, the handheld stuff, you know. Never had a Munchman, wanted a Munchman. A few kids at school had got Munchman and stuff like that. Then the first bit of sort of home gaming really was in that era. So we're talking maybe, it was a while before I got one, but friends were getting Spectrums. So, 16 and 48K Spectrums, they were getting them. There was only one other guy that I knew on my street. It was my friend, and he had a Commodore 64. He had a bread bin Commodore 64, which is what I wanted. And I've talked about this before as well. My history is kind of the things I wanted and the things I got just didn't add up. People that I work with will tell you about. I've got a real thorn in my side is a BMX. I always wanted a rally burner. I'm actually still looking. I was literally that close to buying a rally grifter this week. What I can do with it, I don't know, but I would finally own a rally grifter. Anyway,
I actually looked at my bike.
Commodore 64. Sorry, Pete, what?
I was going to say, Stu Ninja Bear Hug bought one a few years ago, a burner, and it got me looking at them. And I had a Rally Wildcat.
You see, everyone had a BMX book, me. Everybody. Yeah. I was there the first time round when BMXs were the first. I remember BMX Beat on a Saturday. Remember BMX Beat on a Saturday morning on the telly?
I don't. It was like the 70s.
Andy Ruffle. Well, that's kind of early 80s now. We're going a bit further forward now, but yeah. Anyway, that's a different subject.
Side note.
That I wanted, which will bring us on to why I do all this shit now, I think. It's from scars of my childhood. So yeah, I wanted a Commodore 64, so I did all the things that you did when you were a kid. So leaving the catalog open on the, on the page with all the Commodore stuff on it. They'll see that, and so that's me. That's you, isn't it? Saying to your parents, "I would like that for Christmas."
Yeah, that's it.
I would like that. So what did I get? What did I get? I got a Vic 20.
Oh, it's better than an Amstrad. So yeah.
No, I'd rather have had a plant pot. I think with some daisies in it. Would have been more memory in that, surely. But anyway, that's what I got, and yeah, I got the most out of it that I could. Metagalactic Llamas at the Edge of Time. If anyone can remember that one of Jeff Minter's finest. It's probably one of the best games on it. But I had like speech synthesizer like cartridges, and I can remember I had Gorf on a cartridge. So that was probably the very first game cartridge I ever owned was Gorf for the Vic 20. I would never buy one again. I can remember I was out with Craig one weekend and we went to where did we go to now? Was it Console Yourself? It might have been, or it might have been Electric City or whatever it's called out in Castleford. There's a place out there, and he'd got the Vic 20 that I had in a box, and I looked at it and I was like, oh, that's a real survivor. That's the one I had. That's the one I had. And Craig had to talk me out of it. About 120 quid or something. Ooh. And I thought, what am I just going to get it home and not really going to do anything with it anyway. And the games that I remember being brilliant will just suck ass. It just never live up to the 12-year-old me. And it was several years until I owned a Commodore 64C.
That same as me.
Yeah, it was several years after that I managed, once I started working and stuff, that I managed to get enough money to buy my own, and that was kind of on its way out, wasn't it? The C, it was the last kind of iteration of it. But always wanted a bread bin. My mate had that, and I used to go around to his regular, and we'd play all the hits.
It still gets tempting, doesn't it? Even now, I would love to get one, but
yeah, I mean, the C64 Mini came out, and I was kind of wondering if that might do it, just for a fix of Bruce Lee or Beachhead or. Falcon Patrol, which not a lot of people know about Falcon Patrol. I bought Jay a copy of that from Revival one year. We were out there looking, and I said, "You've got to have that game." I'm not so bothered. So when he walked off, I just bought it and gave it him. You've got to have it. Brilliant game. It's like a Harrier jump jet thing. You have to keep landing and refueling, and then bit of a defender type thing. You have to like scroll left and right and shoot enemies on a radar. It's a good game. That there were some top games on Commodore 64.
That's a lot, yeah.
And it was all, like I say, there was no Spectrum Commodore war in my school because everybody had a Spectrum. It's a bit like the iPhone. You know what I mean? I've got an Android, and everybody I know has got an iPhone. It was like that back then. Everybody had Spectrums, and I couldn't work out why. Because My mate's Commodore 64 just looked a lot better. It did. It just looked a lot better. It wasn't, you know, it just was. It just was. And, you know, but as for popularity, no, it was in our school, in my year, everybody had a Spectrum. So you were really restricted with who you could swap games with and stuff. You know, and I was one of one with my VIC 20. So yeah, bringing up the rear as always.
Yeah, my dad got Commodore 64 first, which got me into gaming, and I've talked to him about it why he did that, because he had a ZX81, which I've got now in my house.
Nice.
So I've still got the original one, but he's 64. He got that because he wanted to get into programming. He was going to go to night school and learn how to program.
Yeah. Well,
never happened.
Ivan Dimbleby, if you're watching this, Ivan, yeah, I think he went off to Scotland to university, but he actually worked for Gremlin Graphics.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he got a job working for Gremlin Graphics, and he, back when we were 12, he was programming his C64 in machine code.
Bloody hell.
So he was like, you know what I mean, right out there. And he was making himself little games and doing stuff like that back then. So yeah, I wonder whatever happened to Ivan. If you're watching this, Ivan, get in touch, leave a comment. Where did you go? Are you still alive? You're probably a billionaire now. Worked for, I don't know, he'll work for one of the hot shit companies, won't he? You know, a lot more money they can use.
The 64 in particular, as you say, has got a massive library. That's the thing. It's got so many good games. Even now, I'm still, like, recently, I can't remember who it was. I think it was one of my American friends. They mentioned on a podcast about Warlord, and I was like, oh shit, I forgot about that. I put it in YouTube, and as soon as I heard the music, I was like, oh my god, it took me straight back to the 80s.
Yeah. And how many years did it run for, Commodore 64? When you think about it in modern times, you know, they're releasing PS5 this year. 2 years, it'll be retro in 2 years.
Yeah, it's true.
Before, it just seemed to be around for all my childhood. It must have been around for like 10 years. I don't know. It was just seemed to be there forever.
So, of course, obviously in the 80s, at this point, like about 1985, you'd have been 15. So, obviously, you're heading towards getting to becoming an adult, buying your own machines. I know you bought a Mega Drive, a Japanese one, which you've told the story about before. Did you have anything between that?
No, we're not there yet. So, all right. I got my Commodore 64 very late on. So I got my Commodore 64C in maybe 87, 86, 87, very late.
Yeah, same as me.
I never went to Amiga. You know, I think if I'd have stayed, as soon as I hit 17, you see, it was a car. That was the only thing I needed, because cars are freedom. And when you're from a little village like I was, you've got to get out of that village. If it's the last thing you do, you need to get out of the village. And the only way to do that is to have a car and drive out of it. So yeah, it was all about passing my test, getting a car, and then sinking all my money for years after that into having old bangers welded. So like modern cars these days, they don't rust. But if you bought a car for like 350 quid back then, it basically was rust. And just the paint was holding it together. So yeah, I got my first Mark II Escort, which I really still wish I'd got now, because they're worth about 40 grand or something stupid. So yeah, I had a Mark II Escort, and my mates had Mark II Escorts, and we all thought we were, you know, Colin McRae, which we weren't. And so that took me away from that hobby for quite a while. So I think I'd gone through my cars and fell to bits, and I'd run out of money and, you know, the effort to do anything with them. And I remember that one of the guys I was working with, he'd got an Amiga, because we'd finish work and we'd go into town to catch buses, and sometimes you'd have to go into Dixon's to buy discs or whatever. And that kind of like, oh, right, we're on 16-bit now, are we? Okay, all right, yeah, Amiga. All right. I'm glad I didn't have the money. I would have probably gone there. But and I do believe that that's actually, and moving forward from this as well, there's definitely sections that I missed out on because I got into other things. Definite iterations, you know, definite periods of time where I was away from it. So that was one of the times when I was away from it. So it wasn't until about 89 when the Mega Drive came out in Japan. But this is all going on behind my back almost. I'm totally out of it. I don't know, because back then there's no internet, is there, Pete? You know what I mean? There's no internet, there's no knowledge, unless your mates are into it or you buy a magazine that's telling you about it, you don't know. So it's just not mainstream information. So I went into my old game shop that I used to go into, a shop called Microfun, which was in Rotherham. And yeah, that's where I used to buy all my VIC-20 games. And I just happened to be downtown one day, and I thought, I'll have a look in Microfun and just see what's happening. And I walked in, and there was, I've never seen one of these again either since, but there was like a display cabinet with a Sega Master System in it. And this display cabinet was almost like a Perspex dome on the top, with like, you know, must have been plywood sides or whatever, with Sega on it. And I'd never heard of Sega up to this point, by the way. This is my first exposure to Sega and console gaming. So kind of went in, and within the box, it was like basically like a display thing that you might have got in Rumbelows, or, you know what I mean? Back in the day, it was like a display. And they've got a CRT in there, and they've got a Mark I Sega Master System, and they've got R-Type on it. So the last game I'd played on my C64 that was a shooter of any sort of, you know, credit would have been Armalite probably, or IO, and they're both, you know.
Yeah, Armalite's a classic. Yeah.
Awesome game, Armalite. Yeah. How did they do that? Anyway, on the C64, it's incredible. So yeah, a standard horizontal shooter. I'm looking at R-Type, which is the archetypical, you know, shooter. And I'm thinking, Jesus, that looks good. Bear in mind, like I said, I'm coming from C64. So before anyone says, oh, Amiga had much better games. So this is my first sort of look at a console. And it just blew me away. I looked at it and I thought, that looks really good. That looks really good. And I was working regularly at the time, so I was folding. I got a bit of money. So I kind of looked at that and looked up at the shelves. And there was a Master System control panel with, I don't think it was I never had the shooter, I never had the light gun for the Master System, so I think it was the double pad pack, and the game that was built into it was Hang On. So I looked at that and I said, well, how much is that? And at the time it was like 65 quid brand new, which I thought wasn't a lot of money. I was like, wow. So I bought, on the spot, I bought that pack, and I bought R-Type, and I bought Golden Axe as well. At the same time, took them home, just put them on, started to play it, got into it, really enjoyed it. I think the next game I bought was Operation Wolf, which I wasn't so happy with, but you know, the control, you've not got a gun. Yeah. The control on that's fucking nightmare. Wonder Boy 3, The Dragon's Trap, which is still stands as my all-time favorite Master System game. That was great. I really enjoyed that. And that was my first time playing a game where there was the exploration element and, you know, all that stuff as well in there, needing to you know, turn into other characters to get access to other parts of the game map and all that sort of thing. So that was my first time I really thought, you know, I felt a game kind of expand as you were playing it, you know what I mean? That was the first time I sort of played that type of game. And obviously at that time, so we're talking 89, Mean Machines came out, you know, and I was looking for information. I was in a newsagent one day and I saw Mean Machines, so I bought it, and then it became my Bible then for the entire run of I used to buy 2 copies of Mean Machines. I used to have one for work that I read at work, and I kept one at home that was pristine. So I was such a fan of Mean Machines. I thought it was an awesome magazine, and for me that was the first sort of magazine that related to what I was into, that had, you know, all the upcoming games in it and the scoring for games as well. So it gave you a bit of a heads up. You know, it wasn't just pick it off the shelf and look at the box art. This might be good, I'll buy it. You know, there was someone actually telling you what was in, and the whole 16-bit era, I was completely immersed in. Then, you know, I proper bought into the Mega Drive. I built my own cabinet. At that point, that was the first cabinet at home that I had. I built my own cabinet. I got these massive speakers out of an old stereo and built them into the front of it. And we've got this really big old CRT that was had no controls on the side, so you could kind of slot it in, and the controls on the bottom. And I made a bezel and all the rest of it just for my Mega Drive in my bedroom, and I had a couple of the Sega arcade sticks. I mean, this is before I knew anything about anything. I suppose I could have been like Craig and started buying cabinets at that point, but I just made that for myself, and went through the Shinobis and Streets of Rage, and until the Super Nintendo came out.
Yeah. And what was it about the 16-bit era that, as obviously like myself, made a massive impact on you?
Because everything just got better, didn't it? Everything just got better, and it was technologically advanced. It seemed to be not just a step up, but almost like 3 steps up on what had gone before. And genres were appearing as well that you'd never had before. I think I like shooters because that's all we had in the 70s. It was just Space Invaders, Defender, Mooncrester, Phoenix. There was all shooters. Most games were shooters because it was difficult to program out else. Until Track and Field came along, and then everyone was playing Track and Field, and that was because I think Track and Field was a big appeal because, one, it's a great game. It's certainly a great 2-player game, but also it was different. Jesus, you're competing in all these different events and stuff. It's not just pew pew bang bang. There's a lot more to it, and you're needing more skill and stuff with it. But that's all. Back in the day, it was just shooters in arcades. It was shoot 'em ups. That's all it was. And I think that's why, like I say, I have that in me that I always go back. I always gravitate to the shooters because, I was brought up with them, if you know what I mean. But yeah, 16-bit era, lots of innovation, technologically, and like I say, within games and the design of games and the different types of games, just exploded really within that time, I think. And yeah, what a great time to be a gamer. What a great time to be alive, and, seeing that innovation. And I'm really, really grateful that I am the age I am now. So I can kind of seen it from what it was to where it is now. And it just blows me away just each year that things just it's incredible. It really is. What we have now is just incredible. And it's gaining all the time, it's gaining momentum all the time. And we were, you were blown away, and it was always arcade perfect, wasn't it? That's what everybody wanted.
Yeah.
Wanted arcade at home. You wanted arcade at home. And I think when it actually happened, we all missed it, and it went past it. And now you wouldn't even, what you've got at home's better than the arcade.
Yeah.
And we're kind of going back. Nostalgia is making us go back with the event of Arcade Club and stuff. To relive those days when you didn't get what you wanted at home. You couldn't get it. You had to be, in my case, my local arcade was down in Rotherham. Sunspot is what it was called. I don't even know why it was called Sunspot, actually. It's very weird. And I think now it's called Sunspot. Or you went to travelling fairs. The travelling fair that used to come to my local village had a little trailer, and within that trailer was a Space Invaders, a Mooncrester, a Phoenix, a Defender, all those shooters were in it. Or you may have, if you went to a leisure centre, I remember at Rotherham Leisure Centre, the guys used to go swimming, and I hated it because I don't know if you've ever been in one of these leisure centres where when you walk in, the chlorine is so strong that it burns your eyes out of your head. And I just could not breathe in there. It was like the most toxic environment known to man. And I'm sure that there are many kids with, that are now adults with chest problems because of the amount of chlorine that they breathed in over the years. So I didn't go in. I used to go up to, there was like a little snack, stroke bar, stroke arcade area, and they had a Gorf, and they had a Gallagher. Yes, Gallagher. What's this new Galaga? What people are saying it's Galaga. No, it's Gallagher.
Who's saying that?
And a Galaxian and all those, and I used to stand there playing them. But we've kind of got off the subject then, haven't we? There'd be 3 hours on that alone, Pete. We're in can of worms here, we're talking some history here.
So with the 16-bit stuff, what were the games that really stood out for you?
Well, I've talked about this before, and I have had a massive cull in here, it has to be said. I've had a massive cull, and I've only just started collecting again. And that's something we need to talk about.
We will get to that, yeah. And
you've got to get on top of it, and you've got to know what you're doing, because It's dangerous. But yeah, the only games I've kept from the Mega Drive collection, because I've decided to go Everdrives for the Super Famicom and for the Mega Drive. The only 2 games I've kept are Shadow Dancer,
of course,
which everyone knows is my favorite Mega Drive game of all time, and Castle of Illusion.
Oh, nice.
And those are the 2 games that stick out at me for a few reasons, all nostalgic reasons, and one mainly because they're awesome, and 2 because I just remember them coming out and being really impressed by them. I mean, you can't not play them now, especially with Castle of Illusion. I think it's probably, I don't want to ruffle anybody's feathers, but it's certainly my favorite platformer of all time.
Yeah, I was playing it the other day, actually.
There are better, there are worse, but for me, it sticks out in my gaming history as the one that I really enjoyed it. I loved every minute of it until and it's one of the rare platformers, because everyone knows I'm shit at games, that I completed, and got the remake on the 360 as well over there on the JTAG, and it's really great. It's a real homage as well to that game, and just when you'll know this, Pete, when you're playing a game and they've nailed the controls, because I've heard you talk about this before. If a game controls badly, it's dog shit. It doesn't matter what it looks like or sounds like. If it doesn't control properly, fuck off. It just becomes annoying. You can't play it. And that's one of the games that I played and just thought, it's nailed. It's like Sega Rally. You play Sega Rally on the Saturn and it just feels, you can feel the gravel. You can feel it. And
exactly.
It might not look the best these days, and it has dated. I still love it, but it's the feel of it. It's awesome, and it's the same with that sort of game with Castle of Illusion. I just felt that platformer there was no dodgy, collision detection. Everything was great, and it's an absolute well-rounded game. That it ticks all the boxes and more. And Shadow Dancer, well, I think it's a much underrated and much maligned Shinobi game. It's kind of sits on the outskirts of the Shinobi games is it a Shinobi game, isn't it? I can argue that maybe it isn't, not in the Super Shinobi mold. It's certainly not as difficult, although it has its moments. You've got to know what you're doing, but again, it's one of those times I just burnt into my mind that I can remember being in that shop in town and walking in, and you see, back then, like I say, there was no information. You walked in, you looked at what was on the shelves, you picked the box up, you looked at the art, and then you made your decision based on what you were looking at there. And look, if you were lucky, it was playing in the shop, or you could ask, "Can I have a look at that, please?" Because that's one of the things as well, where you could actually ask, "Can you put that on? Can I have a look at it?" And there was already a crowd of kids around this CRT. There was a little portable CRT, and it got his import Mega Drive sat there, and it was one of the first times in my life I felt like somebody. Because I could afford to buy it. So all these kids, and I'd spent my life being that kid in the shop, playing it in the shop because I couldn't afford to buy it. I didn't have the hardware at home to play it on, or I was hoping that I might get it for Christmas or a birthday. And someone came in and bought it, and you look up at them like, wow, can you imagine just being able to walk into a shop and buy that? So I was that guy at this point. So there was all these younger kids around the screen. So I had to walk over, and I looked over and I thought, oh, that looks really good. I saw the big sprites. They were trying to beat the first boss, and he's quite an impressive size compared to you in the game, and they were trying to beat him, and they just couldn't do it. They just kept getting hit by the rocks, the falling rock. And I just as soon as I saw it, I thought, yeah, I'm having that. That looks really good. So kind of picked up a copy, went to the counter, I'll take that. And everyone playing it looked around and went, oh, brilliant. Because I'd actually been able to buy it, so I took it home, and I didn't stop playing it until I'd finished it. But I've never really got on with the other Shinobi games. I'll be honest with you. That's my Shinobi game, is Shadow Dancer. Just the element of having the dog, to run up in front of you and help you through it, and that. I don't know. I just love it. I can't explain it. The look of it, the feel of it, the music, everything about it. I don't know. It's just one of them,
Yeah. I find the Mega Drive version a lot better than the arcade. It's more forgiving. and I like the presentation
Yeah,
as well.
I mean, the bitch of a level is the one where you're in the caverns and you disappear. You know, you're in darkness totally.
Yeah.
In fact, it's called Into Darkness, isn't it, or something? But yeah, you've got that's a real test of memory. That one, you just you kind of hear the ninjas spawn in the background. They kind of, you know, that noise, and then you almost know where they're going to spin from, so you know where to move to. But yeah, it's a game that I can complete whenever I play it. It's the only game I complete whenever I play it, and I've got muscle memory for that game, so I know when things are going to come before they do. And that's how I'd like to get with the shooters. Actually, I'd love to be able to do that with a shoot 'em up that I like. Is just enjoy it because I've mastered it. You know, there's so many games that kick my ass these days. I just think it does take a little bit of the enjoyment away. But then again, it's that one more, just trying a little bit more, just to get a little bit further, sort of thing. Yeah, unless it's totally, you know, brutalizing you on the first level, and then I just zone out. I just think, no, let me get in. You know what I mean? Let me learn the power-up system. Just give me a chance to get in. No, bang, 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 bang. No, I'm just zone out on those ones.
Well, persistence.
I'm aware I'm talking a lot here, Pete. Sorry.
No, that's all right. It's okay. Well, it's the idea, Daz. I do find that persistence does pay off, because you may know that, like in 2017, I started collecting SNES and Mega Drive again.
Yeah.
And I was determined I was going to try and finish as many games as possible. And the two games that I was really chuffed that I managed to beat were Mega Turrican, which was really hard, and Super Aleste or Space Mega Force, which is an absolute bastard of a game. Yeah. And just by playing it every single day, even just for an hour, I managed to get better and better and better every day.
There. You will. Yeah. And the thing with the shooters is, you've almost got to play them like that, especially the modern stuff. Some of the bullet hell stuff that's on here is just soul destroying. It really is. You think, how, you know, you're some sort of savant if you can beat a modern, you know, bullet hell. And there's guys that complete it with no hits. It's like, you know, I mean, I've specifically set this up at the minute for the Saturn. So that's the only console that's out here at the minute, but there are two others. Having said that, I've just set up the JTAG this morning. I've got that plugged in, but I've not got a lot of room here. So the idea was to really slim it right down to focus on one system, because that's all they had back in the day as well. I didn't know anybody that owned multiple systems. I mean, these days, most people own most things. You know, standard of living's so good that you can have a Xbox whatever, or you can have a PlayStation whatever, and you can have them both. But back then, you know, we couldn't afford it, so we had just that one system, and that's where the Playground Wars came from, because you could only have one. You know, there was no one that was neutral. You know,
not at all.
Both great. No one ever said that. You know, someone said, "Well, I've got a Spectrum and it does this or that," or someone said, "I've got a Nintendo and it does this or that." You know. So there shouldn't be any Playground Wars these days, which is
I do think you make a really good point about gameplay as well, like you were saying earlier. When I hear a lot of people over the years, I've heard on YouTube, and journalists as well, always say, "Oh, I can't go back and play like GoldenEye or something because it looks like shit." And it's like, to me, it's never about that. Yeah, I've got nostalgia for the sounds and the graphics and all that, but I can literally go back, and I did this a few years ago. I picked up one of those Atari sticks from the car boot, and I plugged it in, and for an hour I was playing Missile Command. I mean, you can't get any more basic than that, but the controls are so tight, you know.
Yeah.
And gameplay is king.
Right. You see, it's like old television programs. They didn't have whiz-bang technology, so they relied on writing, good writing and good dialogue. And that's the same with your games. They didn't have a shit ton of memory. They couldn't do a cutscene. They couldn't, there was no embellishments, because anything that was in the game, was there because it needed to be with the restriction of the amount of memory that they'd got. So you couldn't have any whistles and bells. So you got it, because if the gameplay was gash, there was nothing else.
Exactly. Yeah.
You might have a super cool loading screen. That was about the most embellishment you would get. Is that really cool? I'll always remember loading Renegade in for the first time, and it's gradually coming down the screen. And you see in the picture when it's there, you're like, oh yeah, fucking awesome. Or Hawkeye, that was another one.
I love that.
The Thalamus game.
Yeah, Thalamus. Yeah. I was going to ask you, did Thalamus do Armalite as well? Because I always remember them being the same person.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah, I had a little Thalamus collection when I was collecting them, but yeah, and they got so much out of that system. They really did. They were clever lads.
Yeah.
That's the gameplay had got to be right because you'd got very little of anything else.
Yeah, those are the two games that whenever I think about going to the Commodore 64, immediately I'm on eBay looking at Hawkeye and Armalite.
Please don't stop this video and go and look on eBay. I don't want that on my conscience. Yeah, no, don't do that. Especially Hawkeye, it's a bloody fortune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what happened? What happened next after the Super? When you say you got a Super Nintendo, was that a PAL one or a Japanese one?
Well, what I talk about, so how I came to get my Mega Drive was obviously we got to Master System, haven't we? So I got the Master System and I was playing that, and then I bought Mean Machines, and then saw that the Mega Drive was about to be released. So I'm kind of coming in, getting back into console gaming just as the Mega Drive's released. So I bought this Master System. The guys at Microphone must have been doing this. That was the last Master System sold in Rotherham, wasn't it? That I bought. And so I saw that and I was like, shit, I might have kind of, blown my load a little bit too early. We've got this system that's coming out that's arcade perfect. Every game that was going to be released for the Mega Drive was arcade perfect, and that was what we were being told. We consumed that with great gusto. But yeah, so I saw that coming out and thought, well, it's a natural progression. And I was going to get one, but I was kind of waiting for the official release, if you know what I mean. So I got my Master System and I was quite happy. I was quite happy with it in Master System land, playing my little 8-bit stuff. And then a mate of mine, Steve, and he still is my mate today, my best mate, sort of came along. And Steve always had to have the most recent bit of tech. He had a Sony Trinitron before I even had, went away from my 15-inch portable that I bought from Dixon's, my Sanyo 15-inch color portable. He'd got the 30-inch Sony Trinitron, He always had to have the next bit of tech, and he got a decent job, He'd actually listened at school, unlike myself. So he got a decent job. So he was able to afford stuff. And he came from Amiga straight into Super Famicom, so he really leapt forward.
Same as me.
So he used to come around and play the Master System, and then he saw it was in Meadowhall, and this is it's amazing how long Meadowhall's been there, the big shopping centre that we've got here. But he went in there and he saw the Mega Drive, the Japanese import Mega Drive, and he bought one. On the spot, he just bought it. Just bought it because he wanted it. And so he went home, and I've told this story before, but some people may have forgotten it, or it's the first time they're hearing it. So he went home and he sat in his living room with his good lady. Back then it was his girlfriend, who was now his wife and has been for all these years. And he said, I'm thinking about buying one of those Mega Drive things. I've just seen one in Meadowhall. And she went, oh no, you can't have one of them. We're saving for an house. We're saving up for an house. You can't. No, you can't. And it was in the boot of his car outside the house. So he'd been told no when he'd already done it. So he came up to me, as you do, and he was like, I got tuck, and he said, "Do you fancy buying one of them Mega Drive things, do you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll probably get one." He says, "I've got one in the boot of the car. Do you want it?" And he paid 150 quid for it. And he said, "You can have 100 quid, have it for 100 quid. So I said, "Yeah, I'll have it." So I bought it off him. And that's how I got my Mega Drive. That's how I got my Japanese Mega Drive. And that's really where my love of the Japanese culture and the Japanese games came from. That was my first import system. And everyone, you can argue this till you're blue in the mouth, but I think it's universally agreed that the Japanese artwork is always better than the Western artwork, and always was. And just that was it. I was in at that point, but Steve also at this point, and he got the okay for this, when the Super Famicom was released, and I think they were like 600 quid to import one. They like to buy from an importer. There was something like 595 quid, something like that. And he bought a Super Famicom with Final Fight. And then gave me a call and said, "Do you want to come up? I've bought this new system, have a look at it." So I didn't know what it was, so I went round to it, and obviously he got a Super Famicom, playing Final Fight on his Sony Trinitron.
Very nice.
Full screen, full speed. You know, and those sprites just seemed 8 feet tall. You know, and I'd come away from playing Streets of Rage, you know, to looking at Final Fight in an arcade perfect conversion, which it wasn't, but whatever.
Yeah, it's close.
Yeah, and just blew me away. I just looked at it and thought, fuck, that is so much better. And he was like, oh, it's a lot better, isn't it? I was like, yeah, it's okay. You know, it's different. You know, I just came away thinking, shit, that's awesome. But I didn't have the readies. No, I couldn't afford to import one. They were a lot of money. You know, I mean, I'm talking about the first ones available in the country. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? They're always scalpers, aren't they? So he got that. But it wasn't long after, obviously, we got the UK release, and I bought the Mario World pack. And I remember we used to go out to a particular local pub on a Thursday night. There was a quiz night. And while the quiz was happening, me and Steve were just talking about what level of Super Mario World we were on, and you know, how we beat this particular boss, or you know, what secret part of the level had we unlocked, or you know, we were a lot of chat about that, and yeah, just went through that. But I had a bit of a kind of a sketchy relationship with the Super Nintendo. It seemed to me that, and I know a lot of consoles still suffer from this now. They're released and there's not a lot of games for them. But with the Super Famicom, it just seemed, or the Super Nintendo, it just seemed that they were like, I don't know if it's just because of the genre of game that I was interested in or whatever, but there seemed to be big gaps between the next game being, you know, released, and I just got bored waiting, you know. So I bought mine for Mario World. So I bought that and I played that. And then I kind of sold it pretty soon after because there wasn't else coming out that I was really that interested in. Obviously Mario Kart. And then the next one I bought was an American version, because obviously I was buying Super Play at that point, because obviously you've got to have a Bible to read in between gaming time. And they were all talking about the fact that we'd been shortchanged and your 50 hertz system wasn't as good.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I was like, yeah, it's fucking crap that we can play full screen and 17% faster on an import system. So I went for the American one because obviously the language barrier. And I remember we drove. There was a guy, obviously in the backs of the magazines, you'd got an import specialist who was just a bloke that bought some and flogged them, wasn't it, really, at the end of the day? That's all they were. And I remember there was a guy in Birmingham, actually. It was out Jay's neck of the woods. And we drove out. I know it was overnight. It was like a really long night. My poor suffering wife, God bless her. So I got in from work and said, right, I bought this Super Nintendo, this American one. We've got to drive to Birmingham, to the other side of Birmingham, get this from this guy's house and come home again, you know, tonight, because I must have it. I'm pretty certain it was 120 quid for just the base, you know, pack. So it was the American Super Nintendo and a controller. But when I got to his house and we went into the kitchen, he'd got a UFO drive in his. Remember those?
Yeah, my mate had a Magicom.
Yeah, so you know, with the disc in the front of it. So he'd got like Magical Quest and all sorts of games I've not even seen yet. And I was like, oh great! So I bought that, got it home. I think the first game I bought for it, and ironically, was Super Famicom, because obviously the American machine plays Japanese games. Yeah. You've just got to break out those two little tabs inside the cartridge slot. So I did that. Obviously, it was Super Play that pointed me to that. And so the first game that I bought was Axley. And again, I remember buying that from a shop in town and being totally blown away by Axley. Just the Mode 7 on the alternate levels and just the sound and everything. It's still one of my favorite shooters, especially from the 16-bit era. And I can remember that, I'll say, getting that. And obviously playing Mario Kart. And then it all blew up when Street Fighter 2 came out. You know, people were paying 120 quid for that cartridge. Yeah. You know, I think the first ones in my local area were at a shop called Ice Games in Doncaster, and they were selling it for £120 for the Super Famicom cartridge. I don't think I bought that. I think my first copy of Street Fighter 2 was American. In fact, I know it was. It was an American copy that I bought locally. It was about 70 quid, I think, which is about the going rate for what it was then anyway. And then I just sunk all my time and effort into Street Fighter 2 and played it for what seems like decades, but it's obviously just months. Yeah, and that was that. I think at that point, I kind of done everything I wanted to do with the games at that point. I think it kind of ran out of steam. There wasn't a lot else coming out. The last one I bought, that was it. So I flogged that off, got bored with it once I'd got all my enjoyment out of it, flogged it off, and then Star Fox came out, or Starwing.
Yeah.
And obviously that innovated again. It like moved things forward again. So I had to buy it. So I bought the Starwing pack just for Starwing, just to play Starwing. So if anything, I'm guilty of buying consoles for games over the years. I've always bought, I've never been that brand loyal, but I've always gone to whatever game I wanted to play, you know. And after that would be PlayStation.
And how was it in the PlayStation? It was your friends still playing games, or was it just yourself? Or
no, this is just me at this point. So the lads were, I would say, Steve himself. That was, I think, Super Famicom. That was it. He went to Saturn actually for which I didn't do. I went for PlayStation for Ridge Racer.
Ah, fair play.
You know, that was the game that sold me. The PlayStation was Ridge Racer, and again, I had that. I bought one on launch, and I think it's fair to say, I think pretty much is fair to say, the PlayStation is the first console and only console that I ever pre-ordered.
Christ.
Never pre-ordered anything since it, but that was the first one, and simply for Ridge Racer, because for me, that was a real step then. That was you getting close now. We're getting close to arcade at home now.
Yeah.
You know, that was the 32-bit era again, took that step. Unfortunately, it got kind of muddied with polygons, and there are some really good 2D games that were kind of overlooked, especially in the early days, because everybody wanted just more polygons and more, you know. But for me, it was all about the drifting, you know, and Ridge Racer. You know, I just wanted that at home, and you got it. You know, I can remember selling it pretty soon after, because there seemed to be a flood of. There was a hell of a lot of games then for the PlayStation. I mean, I had Wipeout, let's say Ridge Racer. I'm trying to think about any other genres I had actually. I was pretty much a racer driven collection that I had back then. I didn't really, V-Rally, stuff like that. I didn't really go to any other genres within the PlayStation, because I remember when Resident Evil came out, and people will flame me for this. But I remember I was selling my PlayStation, and the guys came over and they'd learned the swap disc trick, because obviously everyone was chipping them at that point for gold discs.
Yeah.
And these guys came over I just listed it in my local rag. Now, this is before eBay or anything. Jesus Christ, am I that old? I predate eBay.
We all do.
These guys came over, and one of them had got a copied disc of Resident Evil. And they kind of did the blue tack thing. I didn't even know what they were doing. He said, "Oh, we're going to put this disc in. Do you mind? You know, we're going to open the lid while the disc's spinning and that." So if you're going to buy it, no problem. You know, they were just trying to work out if you could do it with my system. You know, little did they know you could do it with any of the systems back then. So they put the blue tack on it and they swapped the disc, and they got Resident Evil running. But I didn't even know what Resident Evil was then. And they got a copy of it on a disc. So these guys were, you know, they were hardcore. So yeah, they bought the system, and that was it. He went away. And I'll have got into another hobby at that point, probably model car racing or field target shooting or fishing or whatever. Just, you know, went away then. And it wasn't until Xbox that I came back.
See, PlayStation for me is the one that, when I look back, is where there was such a variety of genres and the amount of different styles of games, and in each genre there was like thousands of bloody games to pick from. And it's just like really stuck with me, the memories of that era. I mean, I was a lot older then as well. Like I was approaching my 20s at that point, so it really sticks with you. So when you say
PlayStation in nightclubs, you know what I mean? It was almost like the PlayStation helped the geek emerge. You know, it was cool to play games. Finally, you know, after all these years of being sort of frowned upon if we're into gaming, or he's a geek because he's trapped in his room and he just plays games, or it was kind of mainstream gaming, wasn't it? The PlayStation really, and Sony and their marketing really made gaming an acceptable, form of entertainment. It became the newest thing. It was, it kind of almost legitimized gaming, for everybody. And the PlayStation and Sony get a bad rap for this, that, and the other. But I think that they really did do that for everybody. They made it mainstream and they made it cool.
Yeah, they made it normal.
Maybe I was just a bit ignorant. I'd got my gaming history, and the games that were coming out of it didn't really appeal to me at that time. Like I say, maybe I was a poorly educated and blinkered gamer. So there weren't a lot on it. There wasn't a lot on it for me. I mean, knowing what I know now, I should have been all over Resident Evil. Well, I mean, what a genre defining moment. What tell me another survival horror game of note before that.
Before that. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
There is any, yeah.
There may be, but I can't think of one. You might have had text games. You might have had text horror games. Someone now screaming at the screen and saying, it was this, you didn't know. And maybe I didn't, but yeah, I think that was, again, lots of moments like that for Sony and the PlayStation where they almost invented a genre, that you'd not seen before. I can remember now, I'm probably in PlayStation, I'm now a motorcycle instructor. And at that time, I'd got a lot of free time in the winter, because obviously everybody wants to get their license and train in the summer, like you do. Yeah. And I probably worked 2 days a week in the winter. I was a self-employed motorcycle instructor. So I'd got at least 5 days a week where I didn't have anything to do. So the two games that stand out to me in that era, and this is why I rebought it, were for Metal Gear Solid and Resident Evil 2, which is the only Resident Evil game I've ever completed. I'm embarrassed to say. I've owned them all. I've got most of them, but that's the only one I've ever completed. I know it's terrible. And those are the two that I remember just waiting for the wife to go to work, going downstairs, having some breakfast, pulling the settee into as close to the telly as I could, and just sitting there and playing those games all day. Brilliant.
Yeah, I've never completed a Resident Evil ever.
No, I've never completed them.
They're too hard. I don't understand. I'm not good with puzzles. So if you've got to go and find a key and then you've got to wander around, I can't be asked with all that. But I did finish
bought into that. I really bought into that. I was like, for me, Metal Gear Solid was the first game that I'd ever played that evoked and Resident Evil as well, an emotional response from me. Like movies have been doing that to me all my life. I'm a big fan of movies, and there's a load that stick out in my mind that really mean a lot to me and spoke to me at the time, and helped me through my adolescence and all that. And those are the two games that really stand out to me that made me feel an emotional response. Is that bit where Manta gets you to put your controller on the floor and he moves it with the power of his mind, and I thought that's brilliant. That was a really good moment.
It's funny you say that, actually. I was just thinking, I was thinking Silent Hill, but you're right, it's Metal Gear Solid, because the first time I ever got emotionally involved in the game is the Sniper Wolf part. Yeah. That just got me completely at the time.
Yeah. It's awesome, and you can thank that sort of game for what you get now. It's an interactive media experience. That's what games are now. Come on, let's face it. They're an interactive media experience, and for me, at this point anyway, and there's still so many. I've got a drawer here. You're sort of sat on my laptop, so behind me the retro setup or the shooter setup, and then over here on the wall, that took me a week to hide all the cables. There's a free floating panel on the wall that I've got my PS4 and new console, which I'm not going to talk about now, but new to me anyway, is going to get plugged into. And in here is all my Blu-rays and my PS4 games. I've literally pulled the shelf out. So a bit of a flash. You saw that, didn't you? So that's the new console, but still games in here that are sealed. And in recent times, I would say that Metal Gear Solid, this game that I'm about to show here, this gave me the same feeling that Metal Gear Solid did back in the day.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, and the sequel is here and it's sealed. I still haven't played it. It's there, it's waiting. But I promised a good friend of mine that I would complete these first, and I've done the first one.
What's the, oh, Shenmue. Okay.
Yeah, I was gifted that by a good friend, and I said I would complete them, and so I'm looking forward to playing the second one and in turn the third one. But you know, Spider-Man's in here. You know, I've got all the Uncharted games are here. There's tons to go at, Pete, but that's it's not what we're talking about. Where did we get? Where are we? Where did we get to?
So you said the next machine you got was an Xbox. Was that the original or the 360?
Yeah. So, and it was Halo that got me into the Xbox. So that was my kind of introduction to first-person shooters, and just wow, just Halo. Fuck off. It was wow. And bear in mind, like I say, I'd not had anything since PlayStation. And my mate had got a Saturn, but it wasn't tempting enough for me to go there. He had Sega Rally and he had Virtual Cop. And knowing what I know now, the Saturn is something that I've learned to love during retro collecting. And wow, what a system. I love the Saturn, and that is the one that I set up first. So everything's in the loft while I've been doing all this decorating and stuff. But that's the first system I've pulled out and plugged in and got set up, because holy fuck, it's great. Anyway, so, but the power releases, no, didn't back in the day. Yeah, they were good. I really enjoyed playing them with him, but no, it didn't really give me that enough to go and get it. And then, as I say, bit of a layoff. So I missed. Let's think about what's in between all this. So I missed Dreamcast.
Yeah.
I missed GameCube.
Yeah.
I missed PS2.
And also the N64.
No, I had an N64.
You had one of those? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
cool.
I bought an N64 for Mario 64.
Oh, makes sense.
Yeah, we forgot about that, didn't we? So yeah, I bought Mario 64 and Wave Race, and very little else. I think I bought it to play Mario 64, and once I'd completed it, that was it. You know, I know you've got a love for GoldenEye, but I never didn't play it.
That's all I played at the time.
Shit tons that I didn't play on the N64. Yeah, again, that was purely a system buy for one game, and that was Mario 64, and I loved it, played it, you know, finished it. I didn't collect all the stars, it has to be said, but I kind of completed most of the game, but didn't. And again, that was one that the last hurrah for the cartridge, maybe.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, but yeah, and that was the last system that I owned. In fact, yeah, that will have been after PlayStation, wouldn't it? Yeah, so I bought that in between time just for Mario 64, sold that, and then it was the Xbox, and specifically Halo. So when that came out, yeah, again, it was a game that I was instantly drawn to, and the cinematic sort of influence of it and the grand story of it all really drew me in. I was really drawn to that and consumed me until I, again, finished that one. And I didn't have any other games. I think I bought the pack that came with Sega GT,
yeah,
and Jet Set Radio. That was the pack that I got, and yeah, I bought Halo, and I just played Halo. Halo until I'd finished it. I can remember finishing it on was it a New Year's Eve? I think it was a New Year's Eve, and the reason I remember that, and everyone will hate me for this, they'll think I'm a real nasty husband, is we used to go out quite regularly on New Year's Eves. We'd be out, you know, in the pubs or whatever. And my wife really likes the atmosphere on New Year's Eve. I'm not arsed, it's pushing and shoving and a load of, you know, grief really, just to, you know, see the new year in. And we decided we were going to stay in, and I was literally, because at that time I think my system was in the bedroom, so I was playing, that was where the main telly was, I was playing it in there. And I can remember finishing it because I got headphones on, and I turned around to look at her, and she sat on the edge of the bed crying because the fireworks were going off. I'd missed New Year's Eve.
Bloody hell, Daz.
What a nasty Yeah, so Halo made me miss New Year's Eve that year, but I just thought it was great. I was really into it, you know, I really was. And I've not been, I have to say, I've not been into that sort of I've not gone COD. You know what I mean? I've never played a Call of Duty game. I've never played Call of Duty.
You should do that.
And I've played the Sniper Elite games. There's something about that that really I like, but I've not played a Call of Duty game, and I don't go into that sort of tactical, just army thing. That it just doesn't appeal to me. I don't know why. I'd rather have, like Halo, I'd rather have a futuristic shooter. Do you know what I mean? Or something like that. But yeah, that was that. And then of course from there the 360. So at this point you could say I was Xbox. You know, got a 360 from there. So any games that really stuck out for me? I'll tell you one game that really stuck out for me on the original Xbox was Munch's Odyssey. I've not played an Oddworld game until Xbox.
Yeah, that was a game I didn't play.
Oddworld games on PlayStation. And I really enjoyed that. I thought it just made me laugh. Every 3 minutes there was like something to laugh at in Munch's Odyssey. I really enjoyed that game. What else were kind of... Just trying to think about hanging around the Xbox for a minute. Project Gotham Racing.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it was probably my favourite racing game at that point. What else did I have on it that I really like? Splinter Cell. I mean, just the stealth element of that really made me think about, you know, Metal Gear Solid again, kind of elements. It really, I like Splinter Cell. I've owned the sequels since, but never finished them. Dipped toe into them, but never finished them. But I think, and that's the thing about the collecting thing, is when you've got too much choice, you've got no time.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know. So yeah, 360 came after that. Gears of War. I bought the 360 for Gears of War again, specifically to play those games. Really bought into that first game. Really enjoyed it. Again, the kind of cinematic sort of. It's like a bit something like what Gas said. You know, a lot of people skip past the cutscenes, but I want to be enveloped in it. I want to buy into that universe and the story, and I want to feel like I'm fighting for a cause. You know what I mean? I want to be there. It's like when we go to the cinema, my wife always looks at me and she says, "You're really in there, aren't you?" Because I'm like, I'm there. You know, I really like to, you know, immerse myself in it, if you know what I mean. I've got a very vivid imagination, me, and I can really, really immerse myself in something. So though that sort of game gave me the ability to do that, I really enjoyed that. And again, I'm not really, you know, the 360s, loads of different games within that genre, but the Gears games just stand out at me, and I've kept those. Like I say, I've got a little Xbox original collection that I've kept, just the games that stand out at me, and the same with the 360. I've kept that, like a little batch of games, you know, the Halos, the Gears of Wars, that sort of stuff, and I've kept those as well. They're all in the loft at the minute because, as I say, we've pared it all down, and it's not got sold, it's just stored, because I know what I'm like, it'll be back out eventually. So yeah, it's stored away at the minute, and that kind of brings us. I missed out on PS3 obviously because I went 360, but I have gone back to PS4, and that's kind of where I am now. Wow, how long did that take? Was it about an hour and a half? Everyone was asleep.
And how do you feel about the new consoles that are coming up? Is there anything of interest?
I am last gen. I've decided that I'm not going to go for the next gen until it's last gen. Yeah,
fair play.
So no, I'm looking forward to all the really cheap PS4 games that I haven't played yet.
Me too, exactly.
It's something that you spoke about with Steve, is that, and the depreciation on games these days is incredible. A game comes out at 60 quid, and within a fortnight it's 40 quid.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a guy I work with, a guy called Dan, and he is so bought into the day one game. It's unbelievable. He has to have it. He's got to have it on the day or before if possible. And I always said to him, I'll buy it off you in like 2 weeks for half what you've paid for it. You know, I'm not in a rush. I don't need to be in a rush. I have to say that, where is it? It's still sealed. I have to drag it out and show it you. Most of this stuff in here is sealed. I bet it's right at the back, but I can't get hold of it. It should be at the start. Oh, here we are. Look. So Last of Us 2. I bought that on release. You can see it's still sealed. It's got its seal. It's still sealed. And I don't know how much that's come down by, but yeah, I paid full price for that. And I said it was the only game that I would pay full price for again. But I did, and I still haven't played it, but I blame the house for that. Because as soon as I bought this, we decided to do the decorating. And as I said, weeks have gone by, and I'm still sat here waiting to play it. But yeah, I mean, who in their right mind? I don't care how much money you've got, you know, even if, you know, you could be Bill Gates. Who's going to pay for something that's going to be half the price in a fortnight?
I think a lot of it is because of social media as well. And we've got into like the same with binge watching TV shows. It's just like, as soon as it comes out, you have to have it. You have to be in the conversation. You've got to consume it as quickly as possible, talk about it for a couple of days, and then on to the next thing. And that's kind of ruining entertainment in a way, because like you're saying there, you've had that for a while. You'll get around to it at some point. You've got a backlog.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. I loved it, Last of Us, and I know it's one of the games where I want the continuation of the story. I want to know what happens to them. I want to know how it moves forward. And these days, it's almost impossible not to know now, but I've really made an effort to keep my head buried in the sand. And I know there's all this controversy. And I know there's some storyline that's upset people. I'm probably going to like it. But yeah, I've kind of tried to keep myself away from it as much as I can. No, I'm looking forward to the continuation of that story, but I need to be for that sort of thing, because it'll, like when I put Last of Us in, I didn't play anything else at all on any systems until I finished that game, because I every night I wanted to get further. I wanted to know. It hooked me in. I was hooked. I was like a greedy car. I was gone on it. People say that about me. I'm like, I'm 110% or nothing.
I'm exactly the same. Yeah.
That's how I am. I'm very bipolar in that respect. Is that I'll, you know, it'll mean everything to me, or it could burn, and I won't care. I'm like that. So I know that, and I want to, like I say, I want to put time aside to enjoy it, to, you know, appreciate it, and all the rest of it. Like the Shenmue games, I didn't play them back in the day. Like I say, I missed out on Dreamcast, but I played through the first game, which was a bit of a grind, I have to say. And my mate was saying to me, "Oh, it's a real grind, the first one," but it wasn't. It maybe for the first couple of weeks, but once I got into it, yeah, I got the pace of the game. And that's the thing, you've got sometimes a game paces you, it won't let you rush forward. You know, everything's disposable these days, and I think it's, you know, that you could race through a game and finish it within a day, and there's nothing worse for me. Like I said, this guy I work with, Dan, he'll literally burn through the game in a week so he can trade it in and still get a bit of his money back for the next one. And I just think, Jesus, you've like speed run it, because you know, I want to enjoy it. I want it to be like a fine wine, not just some voddy that I've necked. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Those type of games have to be consumed that way, I think, as well. That's what they're designed to be consumed.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. I want to just have an hour or two a night. You know what I mean? Not chomp through the campaign in massive big chunks. I want to, and I want to spend my time within those levels as well. I'm a kind of guy where I'm not after, you know, trophies. I don't do that. I'm not a trophy hunter, and I'm not an online gamer. So a lot of the games I feel like I've been denied, like the Star Wars games, the modern Star Wars games that are very much online and are about that. I feel like I've been robbed of those because there's very little campaign, if any, you know. So those games I've kind of passed me by because there's nothing there for me. I don't want to go online. I don't do that. I want to play games in my own time, and I don't want to get frustrated because some 4-year-old in my arse. You know? So yeah, with the Gears games were like that. I think the Splinter Cell games were like that for me, and in modern times, like, as I say, The Last of Us was like that. I wanted to appreciate it and get everything I could from each time I went on to play it. You know?
Yeah, that's fair. So next thing I want to ask you about that is, when you started collecting retro games, was that prior to coming onto YouTube, or was that after YouTube?
Yeah, so I mean, I was just saying, motorcycles is something that's very, a passion in my life. I've been into motorcycles since I was 8 years old. Can't get it out of my blood. It's just something I love. A motorcycle. There's something about them. And I spent quite a few years, maybe 7 or 8 years in the garage building projects. I like to build bikes. So I'll take an old bike and I'll bolt lots of new stuff on it and, you know, do that sort of stuff, put lots of square pegs in round holes and, you know, I play about with them. I spend more time in the garage taking the skin off my knuckles than I do actually riding them. But yeah, that's something I did. But I kind of injured my back a good few years ago now, a long time ago at work. And as I've got older, that injury has kind of got worse and worse. And so I can't really lift engines anymore. And I can't, you know, spend too much time on my knees in a cold garage. So I got to the point where I just couldn't do that hobby anymore, you know. I still do it, but not as extreme. Like I'm not going to be lifting engines anytime soon, but I'll still tinker, you know. And I thought, well, what can I do? You know, I mean, I'm going to come out of the garage back into the house. What can I do? And I thought, yeah, I might. I thought about the games and the systems that I enjoyed back in the day, and Mega Drive came to my mind straight away. And I just thought, yeah, I'll get a Mega Drive and a few games, and I'll do that. And obviously within all that comes the research. So I get the Mega Drive, I get the games, and I must have had, I got probably half of the games that I owned back in the day straight away, just because of eBay, just being eBay. You can go on, can't you? And you can build a collection in a night if you've got money. So I kind of bought Shinobi, bought Shadow Dancer, bought Castle of Illusion. You know, I've got quite a few games all of a sudden, you know, in a short space of time. And then I just obviously never used YouTube before that for anything, and it was quite new to me anyway. I don't know how long it had been a thing at that point, but just went onto YouTube and put in, you know, Mega Drive game collection, and it was the first guy now, Ian. You might know
Ian Wilson.
Yes, I saw Ian Wilson's videos, and I was like, wow, yeah, this is a thing, you know. I started watching his videos. And then I came across Dave Loneboy's post pretty early, and just became a massive fan of Dave straight away. I remember I was on holiday. We were in the Lake District, and I must have watched every video that Dave had made up to that point over the course of that holiday. Every night I was kind of laid in bed with my phone watching Dave, and just got into the whole. Obviously, the world at that point just opens up, and you see the wider community and everyone that's into everything else, because obviously you're looking at the different channels that are commenting and stuff, and you're clicking on them and you're finding out who's who. And you know, I found you at about that time as well, and you know, into your Super Nintendo collecting, your US Super Nintendo collecting. And obviously I had a US Super Nintendo back in the day, so you know, we got some common ground there. So I started watching you. And just that excitement, you know, that you used to get when, you know, I'd put one of your videos on and you'd be like, you know, oh, I've got it here, it's in a box, and you'd be sat in your kitchen or whatever, and you'd unbox it, and you'd be showing the manual, and you'd be showing the box, and you were very keen on quality and all that stuff. And then you do a bit of gameplay of it as well, and just nostalgia overload, really. And that's the thing, I think it hooks you in, the nostalgia of it. You know, you start feeling like, and like, as I say, back in the day, I was kind of a kid that didn't have what he wanted. So, you know, having a full-time job and having a bit of disposable, I've got no children to suck up all my money. So I have got, you know, I'm not rich, but I have got a little bit of disposable income that can well afford, you know, these things. So I just thought, yeah, this is awesome. And I started getting involved with the collecting aspect, and went through the usual journey. I call it the YouTube journey, and we've all got through it, and we all do it. And you see new channels going through it now, and there were channels then when I started that commented and told me the exact same things that I would tell new channels now. You know, to be careful, to just monitor your spending and what you're spending it on, and be careful of being influenced by the greater community to that extent. And I am. It's always been said on my report cards when I was at school. It always used to say, Darren is easily influenced. And you know, Darren's easily distracted. And you know, I'm always after the next shiny thing. I'm like, oh, that's a shiny thing, I want it. That's a shiny thing, I want that. And it's easy to get drawn into that, and you end up with ideas of what you might want to do. So it might not be, I'm not saying that it's wrong. It's a weird subject to talk about. And I think it's fair to say, and I have said this, that yourself and me, we have focused and refocused and focused and refocused so many times that it's become frustrating for our subscriber base, to the point where I have definitely had some negative feedback from it. I'm not going to put words into your mouth, but I have definitely had some negative feedback off it. But then again, I've also had some feedback that said, well, that's just you, you know, you do that. You'll focus on this and you'll focus on that. And the thing with me is, I've always said this, I'll try anything at least once, maybe twice, just to see if I enjoyed it. You know what I mean? And if it's within my means, yeah, I'll have a go at that. And I've gone through everything in here. We've gone through, like I say, everything from right up to arcade cabinets, as you know, and then back down again. And it's been a long journey. It's been 10 years, I think, this year, or maybe more, of trying everything and everything. You know, I've had most systems, and I've sold most systems, and I've rebought them, and I probably will do again. But I don't think it's. I think it's a thing, and I know this because I've done this with other things, not just with video gaming. I've done this in my life with. I now own 2 bikes that I used to own back in the day, so I'm doing it with motorcycles. There's a couple of bikes outside that I bought when I was instructing, so they're nostalgic to me because I had them when I was an instructor. So I've rebought them to have because I had them back then, and that's exactly the same thing as this stuff with the games. You know, it's the. I think it's just how I'm wired, and I think some of us are wired like that. You know, we'll try one thing, we'll get rid of it, we'll get a bit nostalgic for it. You know, we might want it again, and we'll get it again. And providing you're not hurting yourself doing that, so you're not putting yourself into debt. I've been lucky that when I've collected, things have only appreciated. So the last time I was collecting Saturn shooters, you know, when I sold them, I doubled and tripled my money in many cases. So it was not so much now, although things are still going up. It's crazy. I don't know when it'll end. Everyone says, oh, the bubble will burst, but it's not yet in all these years. But I can see that it's not only something that's it's really exciting to do. You know, it gives you a buzz when you can get this stuff. But you've got to put a handbrake on how much of it you're doing in a short space of time. I think you can very quickly build a lot of, you know, you can build a collection very quickly, but are you going to play it?
Yeah.
You know, the one thing I've decided to do this time is something that I've never done. So this is kind of a new way of doing things. And if I can stick to this, then I think it's sustainable. But whether I do or not, you know, is open to question. And most people would say that think they know me well would say that I'm not going to be able to do this. So what I've decided to do is, yeah, I've got the Saturn set up, and I've got a Dreamcast as well that I've just built today. I've built like a special shelled one. So the main focus of the shooters is going to be Saturn and Dreamcast. But what I've decided to do is the games I buy, and it's a rule for myself, I've got to complete before I can buy another one.
Right.
I've given myself like 3 continues to be able to do that. So the idea is what I'll end up with is a collection of games that I've completed.
Yeah.
And I've never done that before. I've just bought games because I wanted to play them, and you have a quick blast, and then I'm on to the next one, and I'm on to the next one. So I've never really given myself a chance to enjoy them deeply and complete them. And that's what we did back in the day. I bought a game, I played it until I finished it, and then I traded it in for another one. I didn't collect games, I just played them. So I think this way, it's going to help me keep a lid on the spend. And it's gonna help me appreciate what I've bought, not just quick bang, you know, bought it, played it, right, what am I buying next? I'm not going for that. I'm you know, I've got to restrict that, because for me it's not healthy. You know, and if I don't do that, I'll just end up back where I was before, you know. And if I feel like I'm going that way, then I'll draw the handbrake on very fast. But that's the way I'm going to do it. So it'll be a completed collection. What do you think to that, Pete?
I think that's great, because I don't know if you've been watching my videos recently, but I've been picking up PlayStation 1 games, and that's exactly how I'm doing it. I'm buying a game, finishing it, and then buying another one. And as you know, with PS1 and Dreamcast as well, are not expensive games. So, so you've got to... I do have moments where I just think, oh, balls to this, I'm just going to buy like Doom, Ridge Racer 4 and blah, blah, blah. But those are all like... Doom has got some kind of depth to it, but mostly they're pretty much pick up and play now and again. I want to try and get the more in-depth games. Like I'm playing Alien Trilogy at the moment, which has got levels to it, so I've got to work through it. And I'm not just... Not only cost me £2.40, I think it was, or something. You know, so... Yeah.
And all the hours in that, you know what I mean? It must be... It like must owe you money. By the time you finish that, it'll owe you money. Yeah,
and that's the way. I mean, I could easily, like, as you know, end up the same way that you just said there. I could easily just completely mess it up and just go and buy a load of systems. I'm at this point now, I know exactly what I want, which has been taken a long time to get there, but I'm comfortable with the systems I own, the games I'm playing. I'm playing them. I don't class myself as a collector anymore, you know. And unless you're a collector, it's hard. I've tried to explain to people, but it is a specific thing. There's gamers and there's collectors. And a collector is definitely a mindset.
Over, won't we? But you'll go one way or the other. You will, and it's what's in your soul. You know, you're a collector, Pete.
Yeah, I know.
You are. You've always been a collector. You always say, "I'm going to call you out here." You always say, you know, you've got to be careful with that itch and how you scratch it, because it could swoop, it could go. You know that. It's a bit like being an alcoholic, I suppose.
It is, you know? Absolutely.
You have a drink and then need another drink, you know, and boom, you're gone before you know it. So, and I'm the same. I'm exactly the same. I know that I've got a very impulsive personality. I'm very easily swayed, and I'm so impressionable. You know, you could start showing me how to swallow razor blades, and I'd probably have a go at it. You know what I mean? I'm like that. So I know myself enough. I'm 50 years old. I know myself enough to know that there's danger there. So yeah, I have to rein myself in, and I have to watch it, because you could end up with, and there's nothing worse than having too much choice, is there, Pete? You come into your room, you look at your games, and you don't know what to play because it's too much.
Yeah, and that's the thing, having the focus of buying a game and playing it, because you know what you're going to play. You're going to walk in that room, pick that game up and play it.
Yeah, you know? And that's what we did back in the day. Yeah. No one I knew was a game collector. That wasn't a thing.
No, not
you were
at all.
A gamer. You bought games and you played them, and then you had to trade them in, because you were skint, you know, to buy the next one that you wanted. And if you were lucky, you got a decent trade, and it didn't cost you that much, but you didn't have a collection. No one I knew owned more than maybe 2 or 3 games at any one time.
Yeah, I had a collection.
I certainly didn't back then. So when I owned my Mega Drive the first time round in 89, 90, I probably had 3 games on the go at any one time. I didn't have 25, 30, 100, 250 games. That wasn't a thing. You didn't do that. You didn't have that.
You see, I collected because I was pirating everything.
So that's I mean, my C64 days. Yeah,
exactly.
Full of C90s. But and everyone had a tape to tape, didn't they? You know. But it's different now, and I see that. I think nostalgia, there's a dark side, and providing, like I say, you're sensible and you know yourself, you know, you can control it, and you can enjoy it as well. For me, it got to the point where it just wasn't enjoyable anymore. Now you start thinking to yourself, what am I doing? What the fuck am I doing? Why do I own 250 Xbox games that I've not played yet? What am I doing? Why am I doing this? You've got to think about that. As I say, there are lots of things in my childhood that I didn't get. So I think I'm trying to fill that void from being a kid, you know, and not having, and now I've got the money to buy it. Like I say, fucking hell, I nearly bought a grifter last week. I'm going to do that. I'm going to work on it.
You've got to listen to that inside voice, really. That's the thing I found. If you think about buying a system and that inside voice immediately feels sour and is like, you're not going to enjoy that. You're not going to like it. You know you're not going to like it.
Yeah.
Don't buy it.
Yeah, you've got to trust yourself.
Yeah, because it's so easy. It's so easy to get trapped. I mean, at the moment, I'm currently a PlayStation guy. You know, to a degree. I've got an Xbox 360, but
Snestastic is a PlayStation guy.
Yeah, I know. What the hell? But yeah, I mean, I will get a Super Nintendo in the future. I've got to have one of those in the collection at some point.
You've been there, you've done that, Pete. It's
yeah,
time to move on.
But this is like when I'm able to.
You ever thought about the emulation route?
I'm doing it.
Route.
I did the emulation by the Wii, and it's shit. But it fills the gap for the time being because I can't afford to buy a SNES. Yeah. So
I don't think it's shit. I don't think it's fair to say it's shit.
It is to me.
My Wii's got everything on it, right? My Wii, my Uber Wii that I bought's got everything on it. And I loaned it to my mate Steve, who I've talked about. I loaned it to him. He wanted to play Super Ghouls and Ghosts. So he said to me, "What shall I do? What shall I buy?" And I said, "Look, mate, I'll lend you my Wii. You can play it on that, and just to get it out of your system, because you don't want to buy a system, you don't want to buy the games, you just want to have a hit." And he kept it for a month and gave it me back, and he was like, "Yeah, thanks for that." But he didn't have anything to compare it against. You know, we're more sort of we're picking the pixels out of it. You know what I mean?
The emulation's all right. The emulation's fine. I mean, it runs. I don't, for some reason, the Wii emulator, the SNES X9 thing, it doesn't run PAL games properly at all. I don't know what that's about. But I'm playing the 60 Hz Jap and American, that's fine. It's the controls is the problem. Not having the cartridge to put in the machine for a start annoys me. And then, I'm using a Pro controller attached to a bloody Wiimote, and it's just, the D-pad's terrible.
I've got the classic controller, and that's very much like a SNES pad anyway.
Yeah.
And I just think if you didn't have access to actual hardware and actual cartridges, but then again, you've got your minis, haven't you? That's who they're appealing to, the minis.
It depends what you want from it. I mean, for me personally, I'll always be a hardware guy and official software, because I always find if I've got emulation, to me is like Netflix and Amazon. I can just sit there flicking back and forth, and I'm not dedicating time. Whereas if I've got a machine, a Super Nintendo, and say 4 games, I'm going to pick a game like Castlevania 4, put that cartridge in, and I'll sit there and play it for a few hours, and then it'll sit in that machine until I finish the game. Whereas emulation, I'm like, I can't be arsed. Flick out, back into the menu, right, put Toycon on. Right, I've had 5 minutes of that, I've done a couple of stages. Right, let's put some Mario World on, then some Street Fighter. I just can't. It does my head in, to be honest. So I won't be buying a Super Nintendo anytime soon. It's like when I'm able to, and also I've learnt that it has to be at a time when I've got enough disposable income that I can buy games on a regular basis.
Yeah, otherwise it's going to annoy you that you can't.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't work. You buy one game, you think, I'll just buy that one game because I've got it at a good price. Say you buy Super LS for 80 quid, and you're like, great, I've got that out of the way now. If it goes up, it doesn't matter. But then it's sitting on the shelf looking at you every time you walk in that room, and I ain't got a Super Nintendo to play on it. And it's like, nah, I need to be able to buy that and then buy another one, even if it's just one a month. Just keep that flow. But I'm happy where I am right now, and you seem a lot happier with where you are as well.
Yeah, as I say, I feel like it's like a full circle thing, and my passion has been the shooters for the retro stuff anyway. I mean, as I say, I'm still, I've got the PS4 here, and I'm going to enjoy that stuff. But for over here, it's literally a quick 10-minute blast or whatever. But what I want to do is, as I say, really get good at the games I've got. I'm not going to say what I've bought yet, so there's no spoilers. I know Pete said, well, but I'm not going to show you them. I've been showing them on Instagram anyway, so anybody that follows me on Instagram, and it's the same name, Shmups and Stuff, on there. If anyone's interested, I've been doing my Game Boy builds. That's something else I've got into as well, which I've not spoken about, is my IPS modded Game Boys that I've been doing. It's kind of I bought some big hitters to begin with, and not for Billy Big Bollocks, but just to complete them. Because one thing Jay said to me years ago was with the collecting thing, if you're going to buy games, get the big titles first, because it just gets easier after that.
Yeah, right.
And if you can accumulate a lot of filler as well if you're not careful, and you're not going to play them anyway. It's just a show, and I'm not doing videos for that anymore. Like I say, this is going to be something that I do now and again. I know a lot of people have said to me, are you going to come back? Are you going to do this? It's not going to be the same as it was. It can't be, because things have changed, you know, things have moved, and I'm still me, you know what I mean, and I'll still show things in my inimitable fashion. You know, I'll still have a few cans on the go and all the rest of it. And who knows, when I come up with an idea, I'll appear with it. But as for regular content and stuff, I don't know. It'll just be as and when. And I don't want to give myself any pressure, because that kills it as well. If you're feeling pressure to do stuff, it's a hobby channel. You know, it's always been a hobby, and it should be that. You know, I shouldn't feel any pressure to upload, you know, or to talk about things, or to show things that I don't really want to talk about. And yeah, I mean, there's tons of, you know, there's tons of stuff to talk about. There's tons of stuff to do without having to do pickup videos every other video, and you know what I mean, that sort of stuff. Having said that, my first video back is probably going to be a pickups video, because it's a lot of stuff I've done. And I've made quite a big purchase of a stick, an arcade stick, the arcade stick, for the Saturn. So that's coming, but until that's here, the setup won't be. I mean, at the minute, say the Saturn, the Xbox 360 and the Dreamcast are set up, but I've still got my cabinet that I was building. I don't know if you know that, one of the cabinets I was turning into a Time Pilot cabinet.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, I gradually come, and that's in the loft now. It's still up there. I've had to pack it all the way to get it out of the way. And I'd got a Raspberry Pi running in there with all the vertical shooters from classic up to modern that Beeps had done for me. Hello, Brian. You all right, mate? And I don't know if that cabinet's going to appear back down here. I may just put the Pi into this setup, or even build it into this new stick that's coming, because there's a ton of room in it. So I may make it a little bit of a sort of a pseudo super gun, if you know what I mean, and have the Pi running in it. But this corner, it's the Shmup shrine, basically. There's yeah, there may be one or two other games playing in the background here now and again, but it's mainly for the shooters. But I've still got the systems, as I say. So the systems that I've kept hold of are PC Engine, Mega Drive, Super Famicom, as I say, Saturn, Dreamcast, my JTAG. I've still got my jailbroke PS3. I've got a few Xboxes in the loft, if you ever need a spare one, Pete. Seems to have 3 for some reason. But the PS4 here, and then there's a new edition which I was gifted, which I'll probably show you my first pickups. But after that, as I say, I don't know where it's going to go, or you know, no one needs to be hoping for regular CojonesDeloro videos. There may be a few initially, but you know, I don't know where it's going to go. I don't want to make any promises, because I've let people down too much already. You know, I came back with 2.0 a little bit too early, I'll admit that, and it was a mistake. I don't think I was ready to come back at that point. You know, it was kind of a crash and burn. I think I told Tootie in the background there, it was, you know, it was a mistake really to come back with 2.0 as early as I did. I should have had some more time to just let things settle and let my mindset get right. You know, been through quite a bit recently, you know, say over the last six to 12 months has been a lot happening. And yeah, maybe it was a mistake to come back and, you know, get people's the 100, as I call them anyway, the kind of the hardcore viewers, kind of got their hopes up a little bit, and I'm sorry about that. And last thing I want to do is do that again, you know. Well,
you know, you live and learn, Daz, and I think you're doing the right thing, because I'm the same at the moment. I'm making only the videos I want to make. Yeah. I'm not gonna, because it's not that you actively make videos that you think other people want to see, but it's easy when you're making videos regularly to get into that position where you think, yeah, I need to make a pickup video, or I need to make, I don't know, whatever type of video people expect from your channel. Because sometimes people do show their displeasure with the fact that you're doing a video that they don't want to watch.
Yeah, and I get that. I do get that. Where were we?
Yeah, so saying about obviously the videos and how some people will show their displeasure in the comments if you post a video they don't like.
Especially with me, it's been like because I'm flick-flacked that much through everything. I mean, I've had everything from MVS to, well, you'll know over the years. Not that it's around anymore, because I very stupidly deleted it all. But yeah, kind of gone through every influence and every system to the point where, yeah, if I was watching me, I'd be pissed off, because someone comes along and subscribes to your channel because you've done, you know, a Neo Geo CD video, and then 2 months later you don't even own it anymore, and you're doing, you know, you've got an arcade cabinet, and then 2 months after that you don't own that anymore, and you've got. But and it's something that Dana said to me as well. He said, that's why I like watching you, because you never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, it's personality, isn't it?
I don't know, you know. I mean, at the end of the day, I've always said that as well. I'm just Darren. You know, that might. I'm like Marmite. You know, I'll never be a wide appeal sort of character, because you either like me or you don't, and that's good. You know, in equal measure. But it's certainly one thing that I've always been is just me. You know, I don't think anyone could ever accuse me of being, you know, a fake or a character, because. You know, I'm a decent actor. I have to say that. I've always been a bit frustrated. I'd like to be an actor, but I'm not. I'm not doing that here. It's certainly, you know, warts and all. I've always said that. What you see is what you get. If you don't like it, jog on.
Yeah, it's funny how some people take it really seriously. It's like we're talking about video games and buying and collecting. It's like I've got more respect for people who have left comments and, you know, their heart's in the right place. They're doing it because they're worried about you and your mental health or whatever it may be.
Yeah, yeah.
I've got all the time in the world for those people, but some people just do not know how to talk to people.
Well, that's the thing, you know. There's a lot of the one thing I really like about YouTube, and this is something that I didn't anticipate either back in the day. So when I first discovered it and decided to do it, I just thought, yeah, I'd like to get into that. I think that's something I could be a talking head. You know, it's hard to shut me up. I mean, I think you've said about 3 things, haven't you, so far? In about
that's pretty good, really.
But it's easy to do that if you've got that. You know, they call it the gift of the gab, which I don't think I have. I've just got gab. But you know, you've got to have a little bit of something. If it's, you know, the most of the YouTubers I watch and kind of gravitate towards are passionate people.
Yeah.
So even then, even if you've not got much of a personality, if you're passionate about your subject and what you're doing, then, you know, you're worth watching. It's a hook. You know, you want to see that person get annoyed or get excited or whatever about something. And I think as well, what you've got to appreciate here is, I might get into a system next week that someone truly loves, you know, and it's been a part of their life for a long time. And if I just pick it up and put it down and throw it away, that's going to annoy them, especially if they are really happy that I've got into it, because they've got some affinity with you. Then they're kind of, oh, this is somebody else who's into this, great. And then they start watching you, and then suddenly you go off and do something else, and they're like, well, hang on a minute, what about this? That I thought we were into this, you know, and you know what I mean? And it's a thing, and you know, none of us are movie stars. You know, none of us are international, you know, famous people, but what we are hobbyists, and there's a hell of a lot of hobbyists, and it's almost like that if someone sees you into something that they're into, it's almost justifying their reason for being into it. If you know what I mean, it's like, oh well, there's somebody else with the same idea, and you get that affinity, and great, they're just as passionate about it as I am. And then suddenly, if you go off and you're into something else, and then they're like, well, this is not what I subscribed for, you know, this is not what I'm into. And I think that's something that the viewer has got to appreciate with YouTube, is when you're a hobbyist channel, your hobbies may change, but that is something that you will struggle with to change your channel's content as well. You might want to take it off in a certain direction, and that's not what the people that originally subbed to you wanted to see. So don't be surprised if suddenly your sub count drops and your view count drops, because that's not what they bought into. You know, if I buy a ticket for a Jurassic Park film and there's a rom-com, I'm going to be a bit upset. Yeah, I'm going to be a bit disappointed. I didn't want that. I wanted dinosaurs and killing. I didn't want, you know, some nervous guy and a beautiful girl going on a date. I didn't want that. So I kind of get that. I understand that. That's why I call it the 100, because there are the definite hardcore that will follow you no matter what you do. They'll be interested to hear about what you're saying and that, because they've subscribed to your personality and not your YouTube channel.
Yeah, they value you as a person. I mean, me and Blue Tonic 78 have had many conversations about, as you say, about the channel, in terms of, because we both like vinyl and we have other interests as well, and I like my films as well. So it's like I've brought those onto my channel in certain videos. I've done vinyl pickups, I've done Blu-rays and that. They never, the vinyl ones didn't do too badly, but for some reason films, people just don't care. So they obviously subscribe for gaming, that's what they expect. And, you know, if you approach me in the right way and say, look, Pete, it's not really what I'm here for, and that's not, you know, what I was expecting, I'm fine with that. Some people can't do that. And
for me, music's very important. Has been a big thing in my life. And I play guitar. I've always really wanted to play the piano. Just be able to, you know, those guys that can open a piano in a pub and just bang a tune out and everyone's singing along. I always wanted to be that guy. You know what I mean? That can just like knock a tune out on a piano and everyone joins in. But I'll be honest with you, and yeah, I know that you've gone through those iterations of what you do, and the movie stuff I like because I'm into that myself anyway. You know, movies are a massive influence on me and always have been all my life. But the vinyl thing, the music thing, I think if you're tapping into a genre of music that, because for me with music, you either like it or you really don't like it. So if you're collecting a particular type of music that I'm not interested in, I'm not going to watch that.
Yeah, which is fine. Yeah,
which is fine, and that's something that you're doing. That's fine, but you know, I think music's really important to a lot of people, like deeply important. And so to tap into that, you know, with someone who might have been watching you for your gaming and stuff like that, difficult, you know.
Yeah, I mean the difficult thing is whether you, like a lot of people have done over there, do you have is your channel about you as a person, or is it about a specific topic? Now, of course, Blue Tonic, his channel is really about Alex. It's not about gaming. It's about whatever he wants to talk about. With me, I'm Snestastic. It's about Super Nintendo collecting and gaming, and that's really what I'm all about. But I've tried to bring those things in. But the thing is, I can't do a separate. I've got a film channel, but I can't do a vinyl channel, because if you go to the vinyl realm, or as they call the VC, the vinyl community, they're really like us with our games. They want to go back and crate dig and find all these old records and special prints and all this. And I don't find anyone that buys new vinyl unless it's like a 15-year-old girl in America, which is no good to me. So, you know.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, it's tough. But at the end of the day, if this is YouTube, then you know, we're doing this for us. And I've always said that, you know, I'm not trying to appeal to, I didn't start YouTube to be somebody or to get to a point where, you know, I could be regarded, you know, I'm not Casey Neistat, you know what I mean? I'm not never going to get to that. I'm not going to be millions of subscribers because I'm Marmite. You know, you've got to be, a lot of the time I look at channels that are quite dull, that aren't really personality driven, and they're massive. And it's because they appeal to more people. They appeal to more of a cross section of people. Me, I'm quite opinionated. I'm a Yorkshireman, so I'll just say what's on my mind, and that's going to piss a lot of people off. You know, that's gonna turn them off. So I'm not that mass appeal. I don't have that. So it was never going to be that. But what it is a camaraderie, a kinship. It's a community of people that are interested in, you know, what I'm interested in. So, you know, if anything, that's good enough. You know what I mean? That it has allowed me and continues to allow me to meet new people that have a vested interest and are interested in what I am. That, you know, vast majority of people in my life aren't. They give a shit about video games anymore. It's something that they do when they're kids and they've moved on. But I've not, and we're that type. You know what I mean? And I've met some. Everyone says this, but it is true. You know, I've met some really good friends, and I've met some really good people that you know, I would never have met otherwise.
Yeah, I do think like certain people, like, who I'm trying to think how to phrase this. Basically, I've had all kinds of different approaches because of the things I've said on videos and the videos I've posted. And it really is, to me, like in real life, the way you approach someone. I know not everybody is that eloquent that they can approach you in the right way. But take Craig is here for example. He's been around watching my videos probably since the beginning at this point, but he knows how to approach me, and he'll have a cheeky jab and take the piss, and that's fine. That's how it should be. It's not to be taken seriously. And you also get people, of course, who do worry about you because they've formed some kind of bond from watching you, so they're going to be like, "Are you okay? Is everything going all right?" That's fine. But then some people are just arseholes, and I don't understand that.
It's funny you should mention Craig, because he's probably, in fact, definitely is my best friend on YouTube. I meet up with Craig, although we did meet up quite a lot before COVID. I've not seen him now for months, but every other Saturday we'd kind of get together. We'd go into Doncaster, or we'd just meet up for lunch and have a chat, or we've had trips to arcade club together and stuff like that. And he's a really solid guy, is Craig, and he's, as you say, he's one of the lurkers on the outskirts of things that everyone knows Craig. Now that he's obviously selling a lot of his stuff, and he's become a kind of a vendor. He's even more known widely for that as well now. But yeah, the problem is, Pete, there are arseholes in the world. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. And, unfortunately, that is just something that you have to suffer. But if you can understand that, and you can just let it go, in the early days, I was quite upset by troll comments, which we've all had as stalkers. I've had a real good one who's probably going to start stalking me again. Hello, are you ready, mate? Get yourself ready. We're coming back. And this is something that it's just a thing. There's people in the world that they will take pleasure in trying to make you feel bad. I've always pitied them. I always feel sorry for them, because I think, well, if you're like that, it's probably because you've been shunned in your life, or you've not got that skill set to be able to, make friends or interact with people. And this is the only way that you can do it, is through kind of negative comment and stuff. Having said that, there are the amount of that are like that can hold conversations and all the rest of it, and they're just mean. They're not socially inept or any of that stuff. They don't have problems. They're just bastards.
Yeah, they like to poke you. Yeah,
people are like that. Yeah. They just take pleasure, in being nasty.
It's difficult with the internet as well, because most people don't use emojis and don't put lol or anything like that. So you have to try and read a comment a few times, because if you just react to a comment, it can go very badly. So
text is dangerous. I've fell foul to that many times. I can react, quite quickly to things as well, and I can overread. A statement or whatever, and I'll think, well, they're having a fucking dig at me then. What they having a dig about? What do they mean? And I can be quite paranoid in that respect. And sometimes it's difficult to rein back and think, well, maybe they didn't mean it that way, or maybe I've done that many times. I've got my foot in my mouth many times in my life by overthinking and overreacting because of how I was feeling at the time.
Yeah, I also find it frustrating when someone will leave a comment to have a dig, but they're not very good at getting the point across. So I'm reading the comment and I'm spending more time going, I don't really understand what you're trying to say there. Yeah.
No, don't try and understand it. And, don't try. You're an arsehole.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. Make it clear.
You've got gappy teeth. Yeah.
That what always makes me laugh, Daz, is when they try and insult you by saying you're bald. It's like, don't you think I'd wear a hat if I cared about that? It's like, you twat.
Yeah, you're bald and fat.
Yeah. Well, no shit.
10 out of 10 for observation. And what's the rest of your argument? Yeah. I don't know. It's a thing, isn't it? But well, you've just got to accept that it's a thing. And once you accept it, you're not going to change it. You're not going to change it, and you're not going to change that person's mindset. Anyone that's got it within them to have the time to sit down and type out something that's just purely negative spouting, oh, I don't like you, you've got glasses on. Well, good for you. And, when you finish doing this, you can go back to wanking your dog off, because obviously got nothing else to do. I don't know. It's a thing, but like I say, let go of it. Don't own it. Just let them. It's background noise.
I do get a little bit pissed off though when people keep saying like ignore the trolls and just let it go and all this, because you do have to for the most part. But also, as a society, we should not just be letting people come on and just talk shit to people without any consequences at all.
The problem is, there's nothing you can do about it, and this is the thing. There's nothing you can do about it apart from be upset. And if you're not upset, then you've just taken everything away from it.
That's true.
You know what I mean? That's the only thing you can't. There's nothing you can do until the thumbs down has a link to that person's channel with their address. You know, in fact, they would never do that now because there'd be carnage. If, you know, suddenly they release the statistic of who was thumbing you down or who that troll is, there would be murder. There'd be murders. I'd knock in a few heads, definitely.
It doesn't mean anything though.
But because it's easy, isn't it? It's the modern world's made it easy to be a keyboard hero, you know, and no one would ever have the berries to come up. I've said this on videos before, you know, if you don't like me, come up to me at an event and tell me, and let's have a talk about it. You know, let's discuss what your issue is with me. We can take it outside and discuss it like men, right? But they never ever will do that ever, because they've not got the berries to do it. They would never ever say boo to a goose. They wouldn't do it. But the internet and the modern media, the way that it is, they can leave the snidey little comment in your comments box, or send you a negative feedback, a thumbs down or whatever. And like I say, they'll feel good about themselves for a second. Good for you. Good for you. If that makes you feel good, I'm glad I helped you feel good.
Yeah, and the number one thing you got to remember, if you make YouTube videos or any kind of social media, Instagram, whatever it might be, it's hard to do it, but concentrate on all the positive people, because of all the people that follow you, they're the ones that are always there, that are always going to bring you up.
Honestly, I would do this again and twice on Sunday. I've always said that it has been such a positive experience on my life. It really has. And the people that I've met, yourself included, you know, and all the usuals, they mean so much to me. It really is important to be able to say that, I think, you know, out loud, is that the guys that are there, and we know them, you know all the names. I'm not going to start picking out because somebody will get locked out. But we know who they all are. And Jesus Christ, what a set of guys. What a solid set of human beings, you know.
Yeah,
so
really
I'm so grateful, and my life is so much richer for being able to be able to chat with these guys. Like yourself, you know, Pete. Solid fella, and you know, like I say, don't want to suck anybody off, but yeah, it's a great community, it is, and there's so much positivity in it, and it's easy, isn't it, to get bogged down with that one person or that one comment, and it really doesn't matter. It really does. In the great scheme of things, the positives way outweigh the negatives.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that's done it for me the most recent in the last year or so, there was a video I was going to make, and I taught myself out of it for a long time because I thought it's just going to bring shit to my channel and I'm going to get people moaning at me. But in the end, I thought, no, this is something I want to talk about. And if people don't like it and they all disappear and all my subs go down, I don't really care, because I just want to be a part of this new community. There's a new console coming out called the Amico. So I'm really excited about it. Yeah, and so I put out a video saying why I love the Intellivision Amico, because I wanted to basically just let the people at Intellivision know that I'm supporting them and I like what they're doing, and I like the ethos of the company, and I like the product. And I thought that could go one of two ways here, because it's going to bring a lot of negativity because there's a lot of dickheads. And it could also piss off my subscribers who go, what the hell are you talking about this bleeding thing for? You know. But luckily, it's been very positive, and I've had a lot of good feedback. And I've had people even say, I didn't know much about this, or wasn't that interested, but now I've looked into it. It's actually cool.
I didn't know about it at all until I saw the Moon Patrol video that you did.
I
didn't know about that at all. And it's really nice to see a name from the past trying to make a comeback, and however they're going to do it, like you say, it's nice to see that, you know. And I think I don't know, I think you should be open-minded and be able to make your own opinion, not just it's easy to slag something off. You know what I mean? Like, how many people do you know that'll say, "Oh, I don't like that," and you'll say, "Oh, you tried it?" And they'll go, "No." So how do you know you don't like it then? So, you know, a lot of people are kind of set in their ways or have a fixed mentality of whether they're going to like something or not, you know. But I don't know, everyone's, it seems these days everyone seems to, there are extremes, aren't there? You can have your opinion, but then it's all extremes of it. So not only would, say I was a big PlayStation fanboy, which I'm not, I've shown in my history, I've gone from, you know, manufacturer to manufacturer, depending on what game it was I wanted to play. I've never had a brand loyalty, really. It amazes me that people get really irate and angry that you may like some other system and really go for it. And I think that's just driven from their passion of their system and what they believe. But it kind of gets muddied up. I think they get a bit screwed up in their own psyche, and then they have to attack somebody else that, you know, the fanboy was never a thing. What's the fucking fanboy? You know what I mean? We're gamers, aren't we? At some point we lost, you know, we lost our roots in what we are and what we're doing. This is all about games. It's all about gaming and enjoying playing the games. Now, I don't particularly play role-playing games, but I'm not going to call someone a nerd or a dickhead or start trolling someone because they like role-playing games. You know, good for them if they enjoy that and that's a game that they enjoy. Great, fill your boots, awesome. You know, I've never played World of Warcraft, you know, but I'm sure there's some people that are absolutely, it's their life, you know, and it gives them an outlet to do whatever they want to do within that game world. But I'm not going to start trolling them and calling them this and that because they're not interested in what I'm interested in. I don't know. I think you've got to check yourself. If you're a person that's watching something and you want to comment negatively, I think you need to check yourself as to why before you do it. And is this something within you that's missing or a little bit, you know, twisted? Not necessarily that person that you're watching. I don't know. I think it's human nature, isn't it? There's a part of human nature, quite a dark part of human nature, that wants to pull down someone who's enjoying themselves.
Yeah, you know, especially in this country.
Yeah, because you're not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We love that, don't we? Now, the television is riddled with it these days.
This is where the opposites.
Let's watch an argument. Oh, these people aren't getting on and they're falling out. Great. That's fucking horrible.
You see, this is one thing I love about America, is the fact that they raise people up and they want people to be successful. Whereas in this country, you can be successful, but once you get there, we'll knock you down again.
Yeah,
you know,
we'll build you up. We'll support you right up to the point where you're successful, and we'll fuck you in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get that. It's very. I think this is why in American films the baddie's always British.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They know that at our core we're truly evil.
Well, we did burn down the White House, so you know.
Well, you know, yeah. Though, didn't it? They were pissing me off. I don't want it to be white. I want it to be pale blue.
I think about the other problem you've got now is smartphones and tablets and all this easy access. So when someone is watching a YouTube video and they're like, "Oh, I hate this guy," and it's immediately just, instead of thinking, they just grab it and go, and type it, send it, think nothing of it. And I think a lot of the time they do that, not thinking that any of us are going to actually respond to them. When we do, they shit themselves in it.
Yeah, it's something that Steve said in your last. I'm mentioning Gashead Steve all the time, aren't I? I'm not
give him a shout out. Yeah.
I still very much disagree with his favourite Rocky film. I have to say that on here now publicly, he is wrong. Rocky IV is not the best Rocky film.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, but yeah, it's that, isn't it? It's that. Just that, I don't know. It's just that twisted part of the British psyche where we don't like winners. We love the underdog. We so love the underdog. But if the underdog becomes a winner, then we'll fucking do them. You know,
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, it's craziness. I really don't get what that is. It's a very British thing, but yeah, modern. I mean, God knows what it's like to be a child these days or a teenager. It must be brutal.
Yeah, we were lucky.
Any young kids watching, I feel for you. I proper feel for you. It must be awful. They're never switched off. They're never unplugged. No wonder there's so many, kids with issues these days, because they're bombarded with, everything and anything in the world is there at their fingertips on their phone, and it's just, wow, it must just be sensory overload for them. It must be bad. Having said that, they've got some great games to play, haven't they?
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. I was having this conversation with my dad about technology, and it's something that I get very concerned about. Most people don't seem to care, but I do worry about the way technology is going, because it is getting to the point now they're bringing things out like the Echo, the Amazon Echo, and all those kind of things. These devices that control everything.
Or the listening devices. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, there is that side of it, of course, the cameras and the audio. But I think as well, we're getting to a point, we're getting so dumbed down, and we're getting to a point where they're trying to make us completely passive. So we're just sitting here, we're not writing anything down, we're not remembering anything, and we're just going, turn the lights on, turn the TV off. It's like, Jesus, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm still going to have light switches in my house. That is one thing. I'm fat enough, I'm getting very little, exercise as it is. If I'm going to say, Alexa, run me a bath, it's time to just check out, man.
Absolutely. I will not have that in my house. Yeah.
That's not good. I'm not having any of that shit. I don't want Alexa starting to laugh in the corner of my room in the middle of the night for no reason. I'm not. No.
There's a new TV show just started in America called Next, and it's about an AI that goes rogue and infects the whole community, society, and starts to bring it down. And the first episode last week, they've got like an Amazon Echo kind of thing in the kitchen, and it started talking to the kid now, and it's having a proper conversation and telling the kid to go and shoot people.
Yeah, it's Skynet. It is basically.
It is, yeah.
It will become aware, and it will decide that we're destroying the planet. Because you know what? We fucking are.
Yeah, pretty much. God, that's a dark conversation, but but we are too reliant on all of this stuff now. It's really great and it's really convenient, and that's how they sell it to you, because whatever technology they come out with, but this is how it's going to enhance your life. Okay, fine, but what's it doing in the background? And people go, you're just a conspiracy theorist. And I always use the same argument every time. For decades, American citizens said the government's listening to us, and everyone went, you're stupid, you're a conspiracy theorist. Edward Snowden comes out of the NSA and goes, actually, yeah, they are. So,
how many times recently have you been talking about a toaster or a TV, and then on your phone or something, advertises it to you? We're all being profiled. We're all being profiled because we're consumers. So this is how it starts. Every single person on the planet, apart from some far-flung corners of Borneo or where there's no Wi-Fi signal, if you've got a mobile phone, you're being profiled. You're being profiled for consumerism. But there's kind of what about underneath that as well? You know what I mean? They can predict. There are algorithms that can predict what you're going to buy next.
Yeah.
Never mind what you're buying now or what you're interested in now. And it's all about consumerism, and it's all about that. And it's not a conspiracy, by the way. This is an actual
fact. Yeah.
They're profiling you, and certain companies have got into trouble for profiling as well, to be able to target you with advertising. But, and I've always said this as well, think about the technology that's good. So all the advances in medical technology and stuff like that just one thing that's really impressed me recently, and I didn't go for it because it made me feel poorly, but was the recent flush of VR. So we've had that, obviously, as you know, for over the years. VR has come and gone because it's come along at the point where the technology has innovated it, but then it's gone back because it wasn't quite right. And then it's come again when the technology is pushed forward again, and then it's gone away again because it wasn't quite right. So PS4, for me, is a turning point where the technology it's there. It is there, and it is working now. Yeah, the next iteration and once past that will be even better. But with the Vive and the Oculus and this thing's there. So the first time, it was Jay actually. Hello, Jay. How you doing, mate? If you're still here. he'd got a VR set and he was talking about it and stuff. And I was a bit, I don't know, I'm not sure I'm going to go there. And, I'm not sure it's this and that. And we were at Arcade Club in Bury and they'd got it set up in the bar area and they'd got Resident Evil on it. And it was the, oh yeah, fuck.
Yeah, I played that.
It was the demo. So Jay said, just have a go on it. And it took ages because everyone was on it. So I eventually got this chance to have a go on it. And I'd had a few vodka and cokes by then. So I was quite impressionable. So I put it on. And Jay's got kind of sat at the side of me here. I can hear him, but obviously I'm within. And when it starts, you're tied to a chair. You're kind of tied to a chair in this room. And I could hear the protagonist behind me, breathing at me and stuff. And I was just sat there thinking, I'm going out tomorrow and I'm going to buy all this because it's amazing. I'm looking around the room and I'm there. I'm in the room. And then, as I got into the demo, I'm walking down the corridors and I daren't look around this corner because I just thought, this is fantastic. This really is fantastic. This is VR. I'm within this game world and I'm shitting my pants, even though I know I'm sat in the bar in Arcade Club. I'm shitting my pants to look in this room because there's some sort of monster in there or something that's going to leap out and scare me. And I'm there. And at that point, I thought, that's it. We're here. We are here. But it was about 15, 20 minutes. I started to feel the motion sickness. Yeah. And I decided not to because, I can spend 500 quid on other things to make me feel poorly. But my feeling is that the next generation, if they sort that out, if they can sort out the motion thing and get the resolution just a little bit more, wow, we're there. And Jay talks about, when he did there's the Star Wars game where you're actually in the X-Wing and you pilot in the X-Wing, and I'm just like, I so want that. I so want to pilot an X-Wing in a Star Wars universe, universe. But I haven't gone there and I didn't. Because, as I say, it did make me feel poorly. After about 15 minutes, I had to take the headset off, and I did feel a little bit. It makes you feel a little bit woolly-headed and stuff. And I know that Shmups, who I call the VR evangelist, been banging on about it for a long time, and I know he's a big fan of it, and I can see why it really is a leap forward. And I don't think it's going to be long. I mean, not like Lawnmower Man type. Being sucked into a system, but I just thought technology is here. It's here. We can do it.
I think VR for me, at least, is because I have no interest in the next consoles that are coming out, and I've been quite vocal about the fact I'm a bit pissed off with the way the industry's gone. But VR is, to me, the thing that's really just nailed it. It's like you're in the world, that's great, and all the VR stuff, but it's the simplicity. It's bringing back the simpleness of playing games again. And whether it be a 3D platformer like Astro Bot, which doesn't take a lot, it's just mostly jumping and puzzle solving, or like Resident Evil, you're walking around, you're shooting people and things like that. Or there's a game, I think it's called Battlezone, where you're in a big futuristic tank and all you got to do is drive around and just blow stuff up. And it's just that simple gameplay that I really, really miss, because the games nowadays are so ridiculously complicated. As much as we enjoy them, I'm never going to say I don't, because when you play like The Last of Us, it's incredible, it's engrossing, but it's also, you've got about 25 buttons on this bloody controller, and you've got to remember everything you've got to do. VR, again, you just look around.
Playability again, aren't you? You're talking about the pure gameplay experience again. Give me a D-pad and 2 buttons. You know what I mean? It's just give me that like freedom almost to have the ability to make a move without even thinking about it. Like you say, if you've got to think about that, your left, you've got a top and a bottom left, and a bottom right. You've got fuck.
Yeah. I was thinking the other week about this, and I looked at I took a moment because I've tried to teach my dad how to play with a DualShock controller, and I looked at the PlayStation 4 controller, and I thought, okay, so you've got 4 buttons there. You've got the D-pad, which essentially are 4 buttons now because it's usually inventory. You've got 4 buttons on the shoulders. So that's 4, 8, 12 buttons. Then you've got 2 sticks, which have also got buttons underneath. So that's 14 buttons. And then you've got this massive bloody pad thing, which actually you can move it around, but you can also use that as a button. So that's 15 buttons. And it's like, you don't think about how complicated it actually is.
We've got 10 fingers.
Yeah.
We're not evolving at the same rate as the controller is.
It's like, honestly, if you take a non-gamer, and the one thing that proves it is when you put a controller in their hands and you're playing like an Uncharted and you go, okay, left stick moves you left, right, up, down. Yeah. You can move forward and backwards. And the right stick's a camera. What camera? Well, just imagine there's a camera over their shoulder just watching them. And I've tried to explain this to my dad so many times, and he just lets go of the stick and just walks. I'm like, you can't do that. It doesn't work.
How old is dad be?
He's 70? He's just turned 70.
There you go then.
So, yeah.
Yeah. There you go. I mean, I'm too old for my phone now. As you get older, you lose you end up passing it to someone younger and saying, just give me my camera on there. I don't know what I'm doing. You do that. You it's a point in your life where your brain just won't let any more technology in. You won't do it. You need an hard drive. You plug it in because there's not enough room left. Because you're that old, you just think, fuck it.
You see, this is why I can't wait for the Amico as well, because I can just take it around my parents' house and it's very simple. They can just pick the controller up. I ain't got to tell them anything. They'll just work it out.
Yeah.
It's that whole Wii bowling thing again. They've got a game called Cornhole, which is essentially just throwing beanbags in a hole. And apparently it's a big sport in America. So it's all you got to do is give them the controller and say, right, you press that down to hold the beanbag, throw it, press the button, let go of the button. Dead easy, So
that's the next. You heard it here first, kids. That's the next big game. Throw the beanbag into a hole. There you go. We've come full circle.
I reckon it will be actually. I'm convinced that that's going to be the selling point next year. Once that machine's out in the open and everybody's seen it, everybody's going to, as soon as they see it, they'll go, "Oh, I remember playing bowling on the Wii. Oh, I'll give that a try." So
that'll be interesting to see how it goes. But maybe simple's the new complicated.
Yeah, I just think the industry's gone the wrong direction. It's all about massive downloads. You've got to upgrade your hard drive to get the space. You've got to update your console constantly, update your games constantly, and massive 90 gig updates for games. You've got bloody DLC, in-app purchases. And
that's the scourge of modern gaming is the fact that you release a broken, unfinished game, and then you've got to download a patch that's bigger than the game that's on your disc. That is crazy. So can you imagine like Nintendo releasing Super Mario World with half the game missing?
Yeah,
and then pretty much. What we'll do is we'll send you another chip, in a couple of years, and you plug that in, and then you'll have the full game. Fuck that! This has enabled them to sell you an unfinished product.
Yeah, and next generation.
Why? Well, because they've got to get it out. They're under pressure to get it out there because it's the next thing. You've got to have that out for Christmas. Well, it's not finished, sir. Well, it doesn't matter. We'll release it. Fuck them. They'll be able to download the finished game in February. That's the way they work. It's
ridiculous.
That's another reason not to buy it on launch. Wait,
absolutely.
For the edition with all the DLC. That's half the price of what the original game was anyway, and we've fixed all the bugs.
Yeah, it's just crazy. And all they seem to want to do is recycle the same old games you played on all your other systems. Charge you 500 quid for the experience of having it in 8K or 4K. It's like, what is the point? Yeah.
And the human eye can't see 8K anyway.
Absolutely, yeah.
Certainly not mine. You can't drink this heavily and masturbate this hard for this amount of years and see anything.
The 8K thing just blows my mind. It's like, what? TV technology is something that I'm really mystified by right now. It's like you've got micro LED and you've got 8K. Who gives a shit? It's going to make no difference at all. Yeah.
My TV downstairs is still it's not a 4K display, and I'll put it on HD. Watching something on HD, and it's great. Having said that, the one I've got here and the one next door, they're really good 4K displays, and I can tell the difference on them, which is why I've put the PS4 onto this one. But at that point, I think that's it for me. I don't really need any more than that. It looks great.
It does. Yeah.
In my eyes, anyway. You start to sound like miserable old bastards here.
But it's what it is an epiphany, because everybody else is just going along and they're just consumers and they're stuck in that cycle that we've all been stuck in for decades. And I'm finally starting to see the light now, and I'm saying, actually, instead of being the person that I was before, where as soon as a new TV technology comes out, I buy a new TV, I buy a new Blu-ray player, buy a new console. I don't care anymore because most of it's bollocks. The technology's not moving on.
I'm totally the last gen guy. So, that's the PS4, that's like the height of modern technology to me. Yeah. And it will be for the next year. There's a guy, as I say, down at work. he's pre-ordered his PS5, and I'm saying to him, but you're just gonna have like a reskin game. It's like,
that's exactly it. Yeah.
You know, you're not going to get in. You're not really going to tell. You're not really going to get the. Give it a year when they've started to use the hardware and they're innovating. You know, give it a year, and then I might be interested, because there'll be a Last of Us or a Spider-Man or an Uncharted or whatever that you can't get on your PS4. But I think we're very very quick to throw things away, aren't we? You know what I mean? Modern technology is very disposable. Like you say, you'll buy a TV for £2,000 this year. Next year, it's probably 50 quid. Things devalue so fast because innovation's coming at us so quickly that today's whiz-bang tech in 6 months is going to be in a landfill. Yeah. You know, it's and I think we need to slow down and appreciate the kind of here and the now and what's there. You know, so that PS4 Pro I've probably had that 18 months now, and it'll probably sit here for another 18 months before I even think about anything next gen. And even then, it's got to really be offering me something way beyond that. And at the minute, I can ride around the Isle of Man on a race bike and feel like I'm there on that PS4, or I can play around a golf, or I can, put Last of Us in and be scared shitless by zombies or whatever, and it be realistic to the point where it's giving me an emotional response. And anything beyond that, I don't really need, So it's. I get that though. That there are those of us within this community that will go for that next bit of tech, and they really want it, and they've got to have it, and all the rest of it. But I think they've not evolved past that. They're still hooked into the, got to have it, thing, even if it's not offering them anything than what they've currently got, especially in the early days of a system. It don't really step forward that far now. That's what I was saying with the 16-bit era and the 32-bit era. It really leaped forward. Whereas now it takes little steps forward. It's a little bit better. It's a little bit better, resolution. There's a little bit more of, ergonomical or sort of, usability within the controller. It's a little bit, whereas back then it went bang. There were huge big leaps, and I think that was more impressive. Whereas now I'm not that impressed by them. I'm like, meh, it's not leapt forward, is it? It's not like beaming the game into my retinas. It's not really leapt forward. It's a little bit better than what I've got, so I'll wait.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that obviously some people seem to think that I'm miserable or I don't get it or whatever, but it's like, it's not that. This is just my opinion. If you want to go and buy those machines and you love all your technology, great, do it. I used to be exactly the same, but right now I can see that most of it is bullshit and most of it is not moving on. I mean, the only thing that would convince me to buy a new telly would be if I got a 21:9. If they went into 21:9 ratio, I'd be all over it. But that's it, And they've tried that and it never went off.
I watch things on YouTube that are in that are in letterbox format. I'm not.
It drives me mad.
I love all that. It makes me feel like I'm watching my old CRT back in my mum's spare room again.
I don't know. When you look at them consoles, though, it's like, the PS5 looks beautiful, nice ornament, but 500 quid for a console with a small hard drive and games that are like.
That's criminal. The hard drive side is criminal.
Yeah.
That's taking the piss. That
massively. Yeah, especially for a digital version as well. I mean, that's insulting. Yeah.
Well, they're still trying to push us that way, aren't they? As well, like. Xbox did it and then went, oh, fuck, nobody wants that. Oh, we'll withdraw from that. And now they're kind of pushing it a little bit again. And are you sure you don't want digital yet? No, we want a fucking disc, and we want a fucking thing we can hold. Oh, by the way, bring fucking manuals back, you bastards, while you're at it. And I want something physical that I can hold for my money. And that's all it is, because you're buying fresh air. If there's nothing to hold, you're buying fresh air. I've got a cloud. You've got what? I've got a cloud, and I keep everything in my cloud. All right, okay. And what can you trade in then from your cloud? Well, fuck all. Exactly. You own nothing. Yeah. They own it all. You've bought the right to use it, and that's all.
Yeah, this is where I think
physically go to a drawer, pick the game out I'm struggling to pick a game out. Pick the game out. Where is it? Get one out of my drawer. Look at that. I've never played that. Heavy Rain collection. Heavy Rain and
classic.
So yeah, if you can't physically go to your drawer, pick a game out, you don't own it as far as I'm concerned. You own the code, which is floating around in midair or in your cloud, or which, by the way, they could shut and you wouldn't get it all back. So what are you buying? What are you buying? I don't get into this kind of, no, digital's not, it's not right. As a consumer, I don't want to buy fresh air. I can breathe that for free. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, I want something tangible that I've bought. It's there. I can see it. I can hold it. If you're buying like a download, my brain really struggles with that.
It's how it's approached as well, because obviously with Sony and Microsoft, you're talking like 60 quid for a bloody, or 50 quid for a digital copy, which makes most people go like me, go, hell no. But then, yeah, Intellivision, they're selling their games for $10 or less. So I don't mind that because it's digital, it's fine. And
Would
if you want to,
video is not sponsored by Intellivision.
All my videos are.
I am not agreeing or disagreeing with on this subject.
I'm just waiting for a check from Tommy Tallarico. But yeah.
You are a bit of an Intellivision evangelist.
A little bit.
You know, it is coming across a bit like, are you sure you're not sponsored, Pete?
No, unfortunately not, no. I'm trying. I just think that they've got the right approach, because I'm not a digital game either, but because it's only 10 quid or less, I don't mind paying that. And with the physical stuff, it's 20 quid. Now, it is still a digital game, but it's going to include a load of physical stuff, so probably like manuals and art books and figurines and all that kind of thing.
I think cost. Yeah. If I went onto PlayStation, store, and I could get something for a £5, I'm not going to worry about that.
Yeah.
That's okay. But if I'm paying 50 quid, then I want something that I'm holding in my hand that I know is going to retain value to a point, or I could trade it in, or whatever. I'm getting a special edition, I might get some extra bits, or you know what I mean? It's value for my money. Whereas download, no, I want it for a few quid. I'm not, because as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing there.
Yeah, that's
it. As soon as I get rid of that system, it's on that system. I can't shift it anyway. Whatever. It's got to be cheap enough, hasn't it?
Well, this is it. And with the Amico, you can trade in your physical media as well. You can sell it on if you want to. Even though it's a digital game, it's going to be something that taps on the machine, and all you need to do is untether the game from your machine, and you can just sell it on then.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So it's pretty smart. I think it's a good one, because I was like, I really wanted proper physical media, so I was just going to go digital and pay 10 quid a game, and I was fine with that. But when he explained that you can do that, and I thought, okay, so there is going to be a reason to own the physical version, So
I don't know, Pete. I've got a feeling it's going to be crash and burn. I don't think it's going to have that much mass appeal. I'll be honest with you. I think it's going to struggle. I think there will be a market for it. There's guys like yourself that are going to be interested and want it to succeed and all the rest of it. But honestly, can you see it really catching on?
Yeah, massively.
The point where it's going to be, it's going to survive. What do you think?
I think so. Yeah, after everything I've seen for the last 2 years, because a lot of people who don't know much about it in the retro community look at it as a retro machine. That's not what it is. The main aim of the machine is to go head to head with board games and card games and all. The family market is what they're aiming for. The retro games basically got 5 pillars of games, and Retro Reimagined is just one section of games that they're making. They have like sports games, they've got dice board and card games, they've got original IPs where they can do whatever they want to do. They've got edutainment for the kids. So it's going to be a complete variety for everyone in the family. So, and of course,
it'd be interesting to see how it pans out. It just sounds new. It sounds like a different way of going at things. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it pans out. But I don't know, mate. It's hard fought, isn't it? Out there, it's brutal, and people are just so dug into buying COD or FIFA every year. I don't know. But it'd be interesting to see how it works out.
Yeah. Everyone said this about the Wii. Remember, we all slagged the Wii off at the time, and look how successful. So you just never know how the market's going to go there.
That is Nintendo, though, Pete.
It is Nintendo, that is true. But again, it's one of the women who marketed that machine for Nintendo works at Intellivision now. So they've got loads of people from the industry. I don't know if you know any of like the big names, but like there's a guy called Jay Allard who was one of the Xbox guys at the beginning, and he was the one that was on stage selling the 360 when that came out. He worked at Intellivision. And also there's a guy called David Perry who you might know from Bad Influence. He was on there once. He's also involved as well. He's a good friend of Tommy's because they worked on Earthworm Jim together. So it's not like, because a lot of people want to say that it's a Kickstarter, which it's not, and then it's just some fly-by-night, but it's not. These are all people that have been in the industry for decades now, and they know exactly what they're doing. There's people from NASA, people from Nintendo, from Microsoft, you know, so it's a good comment. But I mean, yeah, no one knows really until it comes out next year, when they start marketing it to the masses. Are the masses going to jump on board?
I like to think that's the thing. That's what people want. It's got to have either innovation, or it's got to tap into, you know, something that people want. You know what I mean? That's, and a lot of the time as well, especially now, I mean, it's very difficult for anybody new to break in. I mean, back in the day, it was the same with like Sega and Nintendo. They thought they got it sewn up, you know, until Sony came along. So, you know, it might be the time. It might be the time, you know. Obviously, Sony and Microsoft think that they've got it absolutely stitched up, and maybe they have at this point. But, you know, like I say, we saw that with Sega and Nintendo, that Sony came along. Like, what fucking Sony? What are they going to do? Boom! Look at where we are now. So, you know, it only takes something like that. It only takes something to work, and just got to get the, you know, the mass behind it. That's all it is. You know.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, he's quite adamant that he's not competing with them anyway, and he is competing more with the board game market, and it is for the family. So it is more like a second or third console to have in the house. With the innovation side of things, they haven't said everything because they're still holding things back for next year, but they've got a lighting system on the actual machine. It lights up in multiple colors. The controllers light up as well. And like on a simple level, that would be like if you're playing a game with your family, and say grandma doesn't know when she's got to take her move on the board game, the controller will light up and she'll go, oh, it's green, therefore it's my turn, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so maybe that's the hook. It's game for the you know, the 80 plus.
This is it, and we've got all our retro games. I mean, I will try the board games and all of the dice games and that, but you know, play the motion controls with my dad and my mum. But mostly I'll be playing like Moon Patrol, Astro Smash, Breakout. I mean, I found out yesterday there's a game called Bump and Jump, which I didn't know what it was until yesterday. Apparently, that I don't know if it's the North American version, but it's a game called Burning Rubber that was on the 64.
All right.
I love that game, so I was like, oh, I can't wait to try that one. You know, and they're just announcing stuff left, right, and centre, and they've still got loads more to come yet. So
I'm sure the checks in the post, Pete.
Yeah, I'm trying. You know, we'll get there. I'm on the podcast later today, so you know.
yeah. So you had to get paid, didn't you?
Yeah, well, you know, I've got to get a plug in for Amico All Access every Wednesday night, you know. But yeah, it's going. I'm just as you know, Daz, like yourself, when I'm really passionate about something, I just want to tell everybody about it and get them excited for it. You know?
No, I get that.
So yeah.
And like I said, who knows? They might be the next Sony.
Exactly, they could be the next Sony. They might flop. You don't know. It's impossible. So wait and see. So there you go. So what is the future now for you, in terms of your YouTube and gaming and everything, really?
That is the $6,000 question, $64,000 question for me. Who knows? Because if I was to say it now, it'd all change next week anyway. So no, I mean, at the minute, the future is finish this setup. So I want the Pi set up in there. The Dreamcast that I've built. Shall I show it you as a little bit of a spoiler?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
So yeah, this is a company in Australia that are basically reproducing all the special edition consoles. So all the colours and everything. And because my Saturn over here is my Derby Stallion Saturn, the blue sort of icy skeletal Saturn, I've had a real fondness for that. I like a bit of a, you know, a translucent console, if you like. And I just saw that they were selling this, and I bought it. Not knowing how good it would be. The mold is really, really good, and it's a Black Smoke Dreamcast.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, and it came with all this mechanism already built into it, so you didn't have to transfer any of the springs or anything. It's basically the base, the console port bit, and the lid. And I did that in like 20 minutes. It went together like a dream. There's no dodginess. It don't quite fit. It feels like a genuine, you know, Sega product. It really does. And I was, the intention, and this was the other thing with the Saturn, the intention was to put the optical drive emulators into them and run SD cards.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, but
how does that work?
Well, you know about the GDEMUs, don't you?
Yeah, I don't know much about the modding scene on the DC though.
They literally plug and play. So you basically take out the GD-ROM drive out of that Dreamcast and drop in a board that has the slot for your SD card, and you put all your ROMs on it, slot them into it, and there you go.
Right, got you.
You know, and there is even power supplies as well. You take out the original power supply, and you could put like a really modern one in there. So you don't. The one thing you don't get is the zzz, zzz, zzz with the Dreamcast. You know, they really noisy, and you don't get the fan. You know, it doesn't need to cool itself that much. But the one thing I worried about that was you've got all the games then, and again, too much choice. What you
absolutely, yeah.
So what I decided to do was leave them alone. I've put UK power supplies into both my consoles, so that Dreamcast's got a UK power supply into it now, even though it's a Japanese system.
Yeah, that's easy done.
You can do that with the Saturns as well. They literally just plug out and plug in. So they're both running UK PSUs, but I decided to leave the ROM drives in and buy some physical media. One, because it's nice to have it, and two, because I can restrict the amount of games that I've got and access to them and not get overwhelmed by the library. Yeah,
plus also with emulation as well, especially with the shooters being expensive. You might play a shooter that you wasn't intending to buy and think, oh, it's really good, and then it's like 150 quid, and you think, oh, I'm tempted to go and buy that now. So are you going to put the HDMI mod on that?
No, I'm going to run it SVGA.
Right, cool.
So this panel I've got here is it's got a VGA connection to it for the Dreamcast, so I'm going to go through there, and everything else goes through the OSSC, goes through the Open Scanline Source Dubrik, which is, I don't know if you can see it. I've got it attached to the speakers, so I've got an amplifier now on these speakers, and running that through the OSSC. It's Scanline's a go. It just looks so nice. Nice. Anybody that tells, and the likes of Fagin RS500 and all the others will tell me that I need a CRT. No, I don't.
Where's Sean? Just out of interest, where has Sean gone? I ain't seen a video for a
long time. Tons of videos. Yeah, lots of shooters that he's downloaded on Steam.
I'm going to have to make sure I'm still subscribing. That's weird. I thought I was.
They've been coming up quite regularly, those. Yeah.
That's weird.
I'll put all that on a video that I might do in the very near future. Maybe in the next couple of weeks, I'll do a bit of a setup video and take it from there, really.
Brilliant. Well, that's good. Well, that's it's good to have you back. That's the main thing. I'm glad you've found peace. You know what you're doing now, where you want to be, and you seem a lot more calm about it all, which is fantastic.
Yeah, thanks for that, and thanks for having me on. It's quite nice to be on the other side of the questions for a change. And yeah, that's something that'll probably continue as well. There might be some more episodes of Meet the Tuber, but it's not necessarily a CojonesDeloro channel, but CojonesDeloro will be on the channel, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's no point in changing my name. Everybody will call me that anyway. So but the main thing for me is to upload my journey as it continues, like I do, but not feel any pressure to. So that's the main thing, I think.
Brilliant. And if you can give me have you got the channel set up already, the new channel?
Yeah, so it's a second channel that I were always running in the background. Actually, I did it set it up when I was doing drone videos and going off and doing other things, and it's gradually been. I've just called it different things, just keep changing the name, but it's just Shmups And Stuff now. So Shmups And Stuff is the new channel name, but it's a channel that I'd like to say there's all sorts of weird stuff on, some holiday vlogs and all sorts of stuff on there when I was doing other stuff. But that's the other thing as well, is I may upload other things on it from time to time. I know this is kind of the audience that I built back in the day and what people want to see, but YouTube is just that. It's you, this is me, and if I want to do other things on here, I will. If you watch it, you watch it. If you don't, you don't have to. Simple as that.
Brilliant. And I'll leave a link down in the description, so please go and check out Daz's videos. I'm sure most of you will. So thank you very much, Daz. I appreciate you coming on the channel and doing this. So thank you very much, mate.
Thank you.
No worries. Cheers.